experience, I'll kick it over to me. I started making YouTube videos for fun, but I do want to say that back in the day, there was not even a monetization model. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, it
No.
wasn't like I'm
No.
gonna, make a career in YouTube videos. It's like, no, this piece of Japanese candy is cool, and I'm gonna make a 15-second. So, like, potentially, I was one of the original Viners before Vine was a thing. Slash TikTok now. Could you say that Vine is like TikTok now? Anyway, yeah, so there was no model for money, but I got picked up by the Discovery Channel, and before that, I had done some internship on Tech TV and G4, and ironically enough, I kind of got drowned out by a lot of the people that came from Vine to YouTube, and I noticed that it evolved into this just like short form video content, but we can talk about that later. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. What?
I feel like you guys' journeys are a lot similar to mine, uh, because I started off on YouTube as well. For me, though, I think that my ultimate goal was never to be monetized. It was never really to be famous or anything like that. I just wanted to find another way into the video game industry. And I realized that doing reviews on YouTube, it offered me an opportunity to have a platform and to, start to build a following and even build a readership, because I had a blog that kind of accompanied my YouTube, and I would direct people from the YouTube page over to my blog to read like the game reviews. So
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
expect the YouTube to be so successful, but then it started like really to pick up. So then I really had to like focus on both. I was like trying to like write articles and do these YouTube videos, and just kept doing that. And throughout the years, ended up getting brought in onto projects, and wearing so many different hats throughout the video game industry. So it all started on YouTube though, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's something about that. I think maybe many of us started there.
Yeah, Malik, my situation is very, very similar to yours, where I had a blog, and back in 2010 or so, the only way, like, YouTube was the easiest way to embed your video, like a video that you made, onto a blog. I didn't care about YouTube at all. I didn't even know a community existed on YouTube at the time. I was making videos, uploading them to YouTube so I could embed them on my blog, because that was the only way I could,
Oh, you
unless
were
I hosted.
technically doing it for like the embed
Yeah,
experience. It was just like
yeah.
a
It
tool.
it was just a tool that I was
Nice.
using to have my blog, because it was way more expensive to host my own videos, and it took way too much bandwidth from, like,
Oh
the
yeah.
the VPS that I was using, and it was just not, it wasn't logical. So I was like, "Well, whatever." And Vimeo, you had to pay to embed at the time. I
I
don't know if
remember
what they do
this.
now, but on YouTube it was free. You just put a thing on there, you can embed it, no problem. Well, I didn't realize that I was building an audience on YouTube while I wasn't even looking at YouTube ever. I would just upload the video, go to the embed code, and close YouTube and do the blog thing.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing that an audience was building on YouTube. And then I started realizing that it was way more important of an audience than I was building on my blog. And so eventually I just gave up on the blog thing and went straight to the I never intended on being on camera or in front of people's faces every day. Like, I never wanted that. Honestly, if I could go back and I knew that where it was going to be now, I wouldn't have chose that path. I just didn't expect, you know what I mean? It just kind of
Yeah.
happened, and I never was really one that wanted to be like face to face. Like, all my videos at the time when I first started, they were all screen capture stuff, or like just my hands.
Right.
Because I never
The th-
intended to have my face anywhere, really. And not that I wanted privacy, I'm just not, I was never on camera in front of people,
Right.
right.
kind of
Yeah.
entertainer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just
The
kind of happened.
the thing that I'm noticing, oop, hey everybody. The thing that I'm
What's up?
noticing is there's a trend of everything. Back then it was just an evolutionary process where your audience ended up becoming like people came to you and then you ended up fostering a sense of community that way, and they had video responses back then. Do you guys
Yeah.
remember
Oh
that?
yeah.
We
Oh
make a
yeah.
video response. But
I
yeah,
think those
Dr.
things were just on their way out when I was like, I
Ah,
remember I finally got partner and I got channel branding, and literally like 6 months later, 8 months later, they took it all the channel branding stuff went away. Like I was so happy because
oh
I
Oh
just
yeah.
wow.
started fostering YouTube and I was like, oh, we got partner and like I can do like custom HTML in my channel and blah blah blah. And then like they changed it to the new format, like not too long after that. I can't remember how long, but I was so disappointed because I was like looking forward to that so much, and it
Do you
just went
guys
away.
remember that part where they offered Twitch partnership with the click of a button?
Oh yeah, at the
There was
very
Yeah.
beginning. I do remember that.
yeah, and
Especially if you had like a YouTube following. They would partner
yeah,
you
it was
super
just
quick.
like yeah, I remember baking cupcakes for like my first 1,000 subscribers, and I was like, well, I've topped out. There's literally no way that it gets better than this. And and then there was like just one click to get Twitch partnership, and I was like, I'll get around to it at some point. And now it's like you need to have so many accolades. But
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't uh, throw it over to Dr. Tony, Dr. Anthony. I wanted to ask you, what is it like? What type of people do you see? Oops, where do you go? Here you are.
I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. That's the problem.
So what is it like for the gamers that you interface with? Are they a lot of creators? Are they like hustling? Do they feel pressure? What about you?
Yes.
What's going on?
So we launched our YouTube and our Twitch probably about a year and a half ago. Twitch slowly takes off for us because we don't do anything really fun on there, but our YouTube stuff has been taking off a lot easier. I counsel and do therapy with a lot of video gamers, producers, honestly, and voice actors is really what my practice is highly made up of right now. And the number one thing that always comes up is how do I handle this? How do I send this thing out, this tweet, this idea to brand myself? And what is my backlash? Because we know there's a lot of backlash for a lot of stuff that we want to do. And it's the idea always is how is this going to affect me if this is not received very well? And so we always have to go
From
over,
by the
well,
audience or
by
by
the audience. So a
I
lot of
see.
the creators that we work with are really beholden. And when we talk about like parasocial relationships and how they impact us, like all of us here as some sort of creators, we are creating a parasocial relationship with the people who are watching us. They feel connection to us. They feel like we matter to them. We give them
What's a
some sort of
parasocial
ideas.
relationship,
It
Doc?
it's a one-way relationship where if someone watches us
Oh,
on
interesting.
YouTube, they see us and they're like, I feel this connection to you on this person, and we have no clue who they are. But we
Oh,
reach
yeah,
tons and
absolutely.
thousands of people
It's the
every
first step
year.
of stalking.
It is one of the
You
first steps,
Yeah.
and of
The
that, in
gateway.
but the gateway,
Yeah,
but
well, because you feel like you know the person, and then
mhm.
you feel like you're in a relationship with that person, and
yeah.
Yes,
like quite literally, especially for a lot of people that genuinely show their actual feelings and like let you into more. Like some of us are just like surface level, like I like this kind of technology, blah blah blah. But like some people, like family vlogs and like things like that, that are way more in depth, and you feel like you're involved in their life. Can be problematic, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely like from you're making direct contact to the camera as well. I've noticed that um that parasocial is that am I saying that right? Parasocial.
yep, yep.
I
Parasocial.
that was really interesting when you said that because I never really thought about that. I think that a lot of people you kind of feel more connected to you just on the basis that you're staring into their soul and talking to
Yeah.
them in a reliable way. Have you all had experience with that or
Yeah,
um
yeah. I would say like if I do meet people out that recognize me, I kind of flip it. Like I spend more time asking them questions about, hey, where you from? What do you do? And I'm like trying to get to know them because they know generally, they're gonna know way more about me, of course, than I know about them. So some of them are kind of like they're like surprised by that, but I'm very inquisitive to learn,
oh
the
yeah.
viewers and stuff. And when I meet them, and I'll sit there if I have time to talk with them for a few minutes. And I think it just, I don't know, it makes me, it just switches the roles and it makes me feel more connected to the audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go about it too, because you also got to take into consideration that this person probably knows a lot about you and may have done some research. So it'd be nice for you to know a little bit about them too.
Oh
Maybe find
yeah.
out. If you were hanging out in Washington D.C. on January 6th, 2021. I'd like to know that. I'd like to know everything about you. So I'll ask you all the questions, and I think that also just kind of creates more of a connection with folks who are dedicated to your community, and helps build a stronger community at the end of the day.
I think on to play devil's advocate on that side of things, it also in a lot of ways empowers people to feel like they can tell you whatever they want, and that's okay because they feel like that connection with you, like they can speak to you however they'd like to, they can disrespect you, they can treat you like you're somebody that's actually in their world. Not to say that that's how they treat all the people, but you know what I
Right.
mean? Like it
Right.
also, I feel like it makes people a lot more comfortable behind a keyboard. To be able to like not think that they're actually communicating with or somebody that they're not communicating with somebody that has no feelings or no emotions towards things or whatever. I think people get really comfortable in that way, I guess.
But the key, a key prime example of this actually is the Supernatural cast. The cast of Supernatural is their cons and everything like that are notorious for having a lot of this parasocial relationship stuff happen because they go their seasons. If you haven't watched the series, it is laden with psychological material. Like, it is intense, and they speak very openly about their own mental health issues in being creators, being actors, but also playing as these things, and how they can interweave it into the storylines as well. And they've always talked about how when they go to cons, people will just unload on them. Like, you touched me on this season 7, episode 2 at the 16-minute and 26 seconds mark. This is what I felt like. And they're like, we have no clue what that is.
I always
You
think
need
that's
an
got to be
autograph?
weird.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be weird because like the equivalent of that is being like, hey, Mark, do you remember what you said in your last review at the 2-minute and 30-second mark? And you're like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like,
I told them to like and subscribe.
yeah, probably. Right? But it's just like, it's just weird like that because yeah, like you I mean, you feel like very personal relationships with people, actors you watch playing a character on a show, but like to them, they went to work and then they went home.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when, to your point, it reminds me more of one step beyond humanizing. It's almost like you're deifying that person. That person could do no wrong. I remember actually there was a time where I took a long break for medical reasons, and there was actually a subreddit that was created on my behalf with all of these things like. They went in and they were like, the community or the group was like, okay, she's playing violent video games and there's no way that she would ever do that. Therefore, she must be, dead, or someone's hacked her account. And it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I just wanted to share that one instance because that was just kind of intense for me. But I also wanted to kind of dive into your point more, Dom, about keyboard warriors, I guess you could say. And how do you, obviously not our audience, right? Not our audience,
No, our
but
audience.
other people's audiences.
Most beautiful people on the planet.
Those uniques, man.
You don't see
Yeah.
this, but somebody's holding a gun to my head off the side of the camera. No,
How do you protect yourself against somebody thinking that they could control the way that your creative process works?
Here's
Because
the
I think
thing.
for me, that kind of is hardest for me.
With this whole topic of creator burnout, I would say personally, for me, that 70 to 80% of the burnout is the audience that I'm burned out from. I like making things, and if I could make whatever the heck I wanted to and just like, you know, like, I mean, obviously I can, but like, obviously there also does have to be an agenda because you're in a niche and like that kind of thing. If I could do just whatever, I would just make stuff all the time. And I do in other mediums. Like, I don't just do this one thing and that's it. I have other things that keep my creative juices flowing elsewhere. But I would say, if as far as being burned out goes, I get burned out more on the people than the craft. That's just, because of people thinking they can do and say whatever they want. And there's a lot of like negative stigmas that are created around just, how the platform operates, or algorithms, or this and
Right.
that. I get burned out from the people far more than anything else in this
I want
job.
to toss
Yeah.
this over to Malik for a little bit because I think he might have only a few minutes,
Yeah. No,
unless you can stretch, carve out some more time. But you've done so many different things, from music to being a part of a network to Nerdist. Like, what what do you have to say about the creative process, and how do you feel about that?
yeah, I mean, I think Dom has a point there that the audience can really burn you out quite a bit. They can really drain you. But one thing for me that I have done over all these years to continue to recreate myself and whatnot is just to really get in my mind that content creation is one thing and being a content creator is one thing, but I consider myself an artist. I consider myself somebody who's creating something and is you know uh charting my own course, beating to my own drum. And the more I remind myself that I'm not just making content just to put it out there, that I'm creating something, that I am nursing this thing and bringing it to fruition, it helps me to just keep moving forward and to keep really sticking to my guns and shooting for the stars. Because so you can get in a monotonous pattern, because staying consistent at the end of the day is so important in the game of content creation. And there are some days where you might be mentally taxed and just be like, I just need to get something out. And uh, when I have those moments, I just have to always remind myself that, like, yo, the reason why you're doing this is because this is something that you're skilled at. You can create. You can make something that's different. That all you have to do is just be yourself. And the more I do that, the more consistent I'm able to be, and the easier it is for me to navigate and just kind of mentally keep myself together, and to want to keep creating, and to want and having fun with it. So when I get that in my mind, all those troubles and worries that I have with the audience kind of burning me out and just kind of frustrating me and kind of trying to dictate what my content is, it goes away because I'm just doing my own thing. And that's been super important as I've continued over and over again to kind of recreate myself, starting off on YouTube and then kind of going into the Twitch scene for some years and doing esports broadcasting. And now I'm doing a lot of TikTok videos, and this has been a whole new medium to do this on. So, and it's the same thing. I'm just always constantly thinking, what can I add to the artistry of making TikTok videos about the topics that I'm talking about? And as long as I keep that mindset, I feel like you can last forever if you consider your work and take your work that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. And it's funny too, because I always think like it's you never expected any of this to like go as far as it has, like all of us
Yeah.
probably. Like, I mean, there's some that could say, oh yeah, well, the future was always headed this way for like, but I mean, like us personally, individually, like how did we, you know what I mean? Like this is still happening. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I just and that's what keeps me grateful and
This
keeps
is
me like
still happening.
that's what keeps me grateful and keeps me like
Yeah.
persistent and like just trying to keep going, because honestly, like I'm just like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm still here doing this thing that, and I somehow managed to keep paying my bills and like doing all. I'm just like, okay, just like throw my
Yeah.
hands up and keep having fun with
Yeah.
it,
We're
even
so
after.
fortunate to be in
Yeah,
this position,
Yeah.
and you got to have fun with it. You can't let other people really bring you down, and the communities drag you down with negativity or whatever the case may be, because there's always those unique viewers who kind of come in from outside of the community, and they try to
yeah,
dictate and say things about your content. And it'll be like a little drop of doubt that enters your mind if you pay attention to that stuff. So you got to stick to your
yeah.
guns.
Well, I now want to know what Mark. I want to ask Mark a question because I noticed that you started going into e-bikes per se. Did you get any like backlash because you had a very narrow tech scope? Also, I want to see if I can zoom. Oh, there we go. I was like, we need to be a little bit closer in.
The audience is
Tell
listening.
me. Yeah. And also, Malik, if you need us to like say goodbye to you, we can.
Yeah, if you
Sad
don't
face.
mind. I'm sorry, guys. I'm happy I was able to jump in for a little bit with you guys. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
For
where
sure.
can we find you? What you been up to? I know you're a founder of
Founder of
do your thing.
New Meta Gaming Group, or the New Meta Group for short. Right now we're building a lot of the brand on TikTok, but pretty soon we'll be on pretty much all platforms from YouTube, Twitch. You'll see us at conventions, all that stuff. It's pretty much a rebirth of an old gaming venture that I had a long time ago called the Iron Star Movement. Some of the same people who were there for that here for this, so super exciting. And yeah, that link right there, crewham.com, Link Forte, has all my social media links if you want to find where I'm at.
All the things. Well, okay, so thank you so much. And just for me personally, advice on how to get into short form content when you started out as a YouTuber, because it is so awkward for me to make a TikTok. I feel so old. I'm like, I really like doing this thing,
Oh
but
yeah.
like, I don't know. I know that we have to. Like, the YouTube algorithm is like telling us a little bit how many people they're serving to us, which they're not serving very many of our subscribers, but as soon as we start making shorts, they're all about us. So like, any
I'll tell you this.
suggestions? Like, how did you transition?
Well, once I learned with TikTok that they reward you for watch time, and less is more, I started
Oh,
to really rock and roll on there. So with
okay.
gaming news, I typically start with the headline, might sensationalize it a little bit just to bring folks in, but then I give them the facts. I'll bring receipts in. Like, for instance, one of my biggest videos, almost 5 million views. I was talking about Dying Light and the fact that the game is 500 hours long. And that alone drew people in because they're like 500 hours. And then I kind of explained, like, hey, this is on their Twitter, and these
Yeah.
guys are talking about the trophies and achievements. They're not talking about the story. Elaborated on it, but it was a short video and it did very well because it was just all the information everybody needed. And it was very quick. So less is more always on TikTok, and make sure those first like 2 to 3 seconds are very compelling.
Oh, now clickbaiting the beginning of the videos. Oh
I, will-
boy.
I, will- I wouldn't say clickbait,
I mean, the
not
first 2
necessarily.
seconds is the equivalent of a clickbait title.
It's now
Pretty
watch
much.
bait. It's watch bait.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much clickbait. Yeah. But I wouldn't say be disingenuous to your audience.
Yeah,
No.
fair
You
enough.
don't want to be
fair
one of
enough.
those people.
Well, see, and you could actually just get up and leave then if people have tuned out by now in the TikTok audience. If their normal viewership is like 10 seconds and then they're out.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
make a TikTok out of this
But think of it.
panel.
If you make a 15-second video and they watch 10 seconds of it, TikTok will reward you and push that video to more people's pages. So
Oh, very interesting. I was like,
yeah.
teach me, Obi-Wan. Very always good to see you. It's see you in another 10 years.
Hopefully
I
not.
guess.
Hopefully not that long. It was good
Maybe a
meeting
conference
everybody
in real
also.
time. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
And then there were 4. Okay, I know how to count. Oh, that is the panel orientation I'm more used to. I did want to ask you, Mark, you're like bracing yourself, but you did try to do something different with your content. Like, what happens when you do something different with your content? Like, and how do you react with it? And then I wanted to turn it to Dr. Bean about like the advice he gives, if that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been doing it a long time, and I've always kind of talked about different things in tech. But there was a portion where I was very Apple focused and iPhone focused.
I know.
Yeah,
You guys
but
are both so Apple focused, and I'm like, hi, I talk about like Linux and anti-Apple people
yeah,
all over the place. You guys are
yeah,
gonna get over it.
yeah. But I've always talked about other things, projectors and stuff. But yeah, the last few years, I've kind of leaned more towards that side of just focusing because I just can't keep talking about, mostly about one subject anymore. So for the last 4 years, I've just been kind of, just embracing talking about what I want to talk about. And I got into e-bikes recently and stuff. And yeah, of course, my audience
So
is
cool.
not all the way into it. So I'm not getting a lot of views and stuff, but I've already kind of braced myself for that. And um, for me, the one type of thing that I look at in my YouTube analytics, the numbers really don't affect me, honestly, but I look at the likes, like what percentage of people are liking the videos. And that percentage has gotten better over the past few years for me. And so that means more
Hmm.
to me over the views and stuff, because yeah, a lot of people aren't watching them, but the people who are watching them,
Are
they're
there
liking
for
it.
you.
Yeah,
They're there for you, Mark. That's what it means.
yeah, it's that, but it's also too like I love making content now and just searching for people searching for the topics and stuff or finding my channel. So it's been different. I'm an old dog, and this as I said before, like the numbers they matter, but not as much to me because I've seen people have great numbers and they get burned off of YouTube. They get burned out, right? Getting millions of views, millions of subscribers, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm tired." And so the numbers I've learned doesn't override your happiness. So I focus on happiness and then everything else. And yeah, so just dealing with the audience is just when you're going through change. It's kind of like, I've embraced this whole, like, I don't care what people say about me. I care why they said it. And I started noticing, I came back and a few years ago, my audio sucked. My lighting was horrible. And people would say that. And if you just, and sometimes people, they mean well, but they might just come off as, hey man, your lighting sucks. And it's not like they're trying to be mean, but they're actually telling the truth. So I looked at, okay, why are they saying that? You know what? They're right. And so I just kind of built up this armor over time. And I try to be careful at telling younger creators, oh, just, get tougher skin and stuff, because it's not that easy, right? Like you have to kind of build it up over time.
Yeah.
But eventually you have to learn how to just like let stuff bounce off of you, take that positivity, let it sink into your skin, soak it all in. But the negative stuff, just look at it, but let it bounce right off of you.
Oh, I love that. That's great advice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel like Mark was saying, it's like there's only so much excitement I can get about the new Galaxy S57, or you know what I mean? Like we're in my opinion, we've been plateaued as in that area of technology for years now. And so I'm not racing to do like 12 videos in a row on this phone anymore, because to be quite frank, it's just not that exciting. It's exciting and like it's cool and like, like there's a level of excitement around those things, but but doing that that like kind of grind set to like just do make an entire 20-minute video on just one button on the phone and do that on every single button the phone it's just not fun anymore. You know what I mean? It's not fun.
Yeah, I
And
get it.
I've noticed over the years that it is also damaging to just my happiness. Like I don't want to do these, but being like previously so focused on like, what the literal and figurative payoff is of doing 12 videos on 12 different buttons on a phone is more damaging to my happiness in the space in the long run. Yeah, the short gains are great. You know what I mean? Like super freaking awesome. And you get the notoriety, you get circled in the news stuff, and like, like there's all these like all this exposure and blah blah blah. But all that grinding and all that stuff coming at you over and over again for years, you will smack your face into a wall.
This panel is really good. Like, it's really good. But I'm kind of hitting a wall, and I think I'm going to finish editing this tomorrow. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that panel. There was a slight change in the plans tonight with the extended version of the creator panel you just watched. Instead of tomorrow, it will actually be available right after GBF closes in just 3 hours via Nixie's second channel on YouTube, the second channel on YouTube. Folks, my name is Thunder McFadden, and I am joined by Dr. Anthony Bean. Dr. Anthony Bean is a licensed clinical depth psychologist, video game researcher, and the executive director at the Talos Project. He has been consulted as an expert at the national and international level, being sought after as a speaker in the United States, Canada, and also in Russia. Dr. Bean holds a doctorate in psychology in clinical depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute and specializes in the therapeutic implications of video games and gaming, working with children and adolescents. He created Geek Therapeutics, teaching clinicians and parents how to relate to their clients and families. Dr. Bean has also authored multiple academic articles, book chapters, and 4 books. Dr. Bean, welcome. Dr. Anthony Bean, welcome. How are you? It's good to see you. It was nice to see you in that panel. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know, it's just like I came off of it. I feel super refreshed. It's really
Yes.
kind of crazy.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, you look fantastic. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
Had a quick wardrobe change too. It was amazing.
The fast change. We know about
Like
it.
lightning.
Yes, absolutely. So I gave just a brief explanation of what you do, right? That's the technical blurb. So give me, if you would, maybe a little kind of expanded version of that. What does your day-to-day entail and that type of thing?
Yeah, sure. So I am the CEO of Geek Therapeutics, and we basically take anything that's geek and we turn it into a therapeutic endeavor. So whether it's video games, RPGs, anime, comics, superheroes, you name it, we can use it. And so my main days, I work as a clinical psychologist. By nights, I am a geek therapist and doing all sorts of fun stuff and creating a lot of awesome different trainings for people. And we're the only one in the world that is basically APA, NBCC, ACE, and Association of Play Therapy approved for our trainings, which basically means they've seen our stuff. They are like, holy cow, this is the best thing ever. We're going to approve it so people can get continuing education with us.
Awesome. That is so cool. How long exactly have you been at it, and what has the process been like to get into this as well?
So we have been training people on this for over a decade, but we created the Geek Therapeutics right around 2019 because we were getting so many submissions for trainings across the world. And it has been a slow start and it has just ramped up. We had massive growth last year. We're already in the process of growing again. And there are over 120 hours, I want to say, of continuing education credit that people can get. Never mind, we train people how to do therapeutic game mastering and how to use, let's say, D&D or another RPG as a therapeutic endeavor for clients or for just playing with your friends in some capacity.
Interesting. Very interesting. So an RPG as therapy is what you're telling me.
That's right.
And so explain that to me. I've played a number of hours of World of Warcraft in my day, right? Obviously, very popular role-playing MMORPG, clearly. But so tell me, okay, you're going to take an RPG, you're going to use it as therapy. How does that work?
So we basically will go and look at the person's characters, who they play as, what type of spells they choose as. Because, you know, as a spellcaster, you can be a wizard, you can be a mage, you can be a warlock, you can be a lot of different things.
Of course.
That tells us a little bit about who you are as a personality, individual, and how you interact with the world around us. Sure. And it actually matches up really, really well. And it then helps us to understand, well, maybe I'm distant in this capacity, and this is how I play to reinforce that. And maybe we need to try a different character to see what it feels like to maybe be a tank.
I love it. I love it. That is amazing. And I would never have thought of it that way, or maybe I would have, you know, I mean, in my time, just specifically talking about WoW, right? I remember talking with my friends and being like, I play a druid. And I think to play a druid, you kind of got to be at least a little weird. You got to have to.
That's my main character too. So if we're druids, I mean, yeah, that's what I do. Cause I can tank, I can heal, I can boomkin, or I can be a cat. I mean, like I've got all 4. Why would I play another character?
Right. See, and and people get it twisted. Well, they're like, well, you're just a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Right. And I'm like, well, I like to be able to fill the roles, and I like to be able to, you know.
I would say that's only true there, Thunder, when they took away the bear tank's ability to be able to swipe behind you as well to grab everybody.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. Well, we are welcoming everyone in. Welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good. Hey.
Hi.
Amazing. So I guess who has the first question? Should we do you want to go with Dr. Goku maybe with the first question, or how do we feel, folks?
I was gonna say if they could potentially introduce themselves so people actually know who they are, but also what their specialties are, because Geek Therapy, what this whole panel's about, is encompasses quite a bit. We're talking like anime, comics, everything. So everyone here really has a really high specialty in something special here.
I love it. So do we want to start with Dr. Goku? We'll do the introductions and everybody can kind of go around.
Sure. So my real name is Dr. Jean-Luc Williams. I'm better known as Dr. Goku online. I am a licensed psychologist, and I am the co-founder, vice president of Guardians MH. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that provides peer support and resources throughout the gaming community. And one of our biggest claims right now is our free mental health kits. We're working on version 4 as of now, where people can request these kits and they can get either a digital version right then and there from our website, or they can get a physical one with actual physical items mailed to their house free of charge.
Amazing. And what does one of these mental health packets include? Or that explain that to me.
Oh, well, let me actually get one out.
Yeah, visuals even. I love it.
You're gonna get the whole package on this one.
Awesome. Great.
Right now we're reworking our main mental health kit. So we've done like 3 iterations of it, and this current one we partnered with Bungie Studios to have a officially licensed one for Destiny the game. So mainly it comes in this packaging, and it brings a whole bunch of resources. So this one is again Destiny focused. We have promos for the game, handouts for like the games and harassment hotline, a journal. We have a coloring book that's been made by artists from the Destiny community that have donated things to us. A exercise program. Oh, RTXs. There we go. So yeah, a exercise program, just a regular or pamphlet. Each kit is hand assembled, so you get a card that tells you who assembled it, and this one was assembled by Sadie. So Joe, our president's 5-year-old daughter, was the one that helped make the kit. Letter of encouragement. That one's in Spanish. So a safety plan. A gratitude inventory. We have some grounding exercises, some breathing exercises. We have 2 of them. We have the stop technique, a guided meditation.
Ooh.
And in terms of physical items, we have a bracelet, a pen, some colored pencils for the coloring book, and then we have a fidget item. So for the people that play Destiny, this one looks like the in-game currency Glimmer.
Yep.
Sweet.
And it is very addicting.
It looks addicting from here, and I can't grab it through the internet, but I would love to have it. Seems amazing. And I love that there are a lot of different things touched on in there, not only the mental health, which is what we're focusing on today, but also the physical health, right? Some exercises for gamers to do and that sort of thing. Really awesome. Very cool. Thank you for that. Moving on, how about Lindsay G? We'll go next with you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Grove. I'm a school psychologist in Colorado. And I run Dungeons and Dragons groups with my students, as well as use video games in my groups and Pokemon the card game in my groups.
Wow, very cool. Okay,
yeah.
So D&D and Pokemon,
and video games.
And what age groups did you say again?
They're all elementary school kids, so kindergarten through 5th grade. I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons with 4th and 5th grade right now. I use the video games with everyone from my 1st grader, actually from my kindergartners up.
Very cool. Very cool. I got kind of my jaw dropped for a second thinking about D&D and my wife is a kindergarten teacher, so kindergarten 1st grade, and trying to do some sort of D&D seems like reckless with that age, but I love it. Okay, 4th and 5th grade. Awesome.
I'm doing it with a whole class of 4th graders right now, and it is a little bit like herding cats. So yes, I can't imagine doing it with kindergartners.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Starfire, we'll go with you next.
Yes, hi. My name's Heather, better known as Starfire in the gaming community. I am a licensed mental health counselor, certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor, certified geek therapist, and certified therapeutic game master. through Geek Therapeutics. I'm currently working in a private practice in New York. I work with all age groups and incorporate all kinds of different geeky elements into my therapeutic practice. But I guess I'm best known for incorporating anime, video games, and recently incorporating cosplay. But I will be starting D&D groups myself as well in the future.
Very cool. Love that. A lot of D&D in this group. Cool stuff. Excellent.
Yep.
Hey, I think D&D is fantastic. I've only played a couple of times. I've only had groups to play with like once or twice, but I've had fun every time I have done it. Last introduction that we need to do, last definitely but not least, Charlene McPherson. Charlene, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm kind of starstruck at the moment, but I'm good. I'm Charlene. I also do RPG therapy in my own private practice, Nat 20 Therapy. I am currently in the Geek Therapeutics Game Master Certification Program. I'm excited to finish that, but I've also been certified as a therapeutic game master through Game to Grow as well. And I run most of my groups with adults age 25 and up because there's no resources out there for us. And so I want to make sure we have some resources. I am also looking to introduce more than just D&D. Fiasco I'm looking at. We did Call of Cthulhu last night in one of our trainings. That was pretty fun in Geek Therapeutics. So definitely kind of spreading the fun around, not just D&D.
Awesome. I love that. Fantastic. Thank you, Charlene. I'll go back to Dr. Anthony Bean. Anthony, may I call you Anthony?
Sure, absolutely.
Anthony, was there any place that you wanted to start specifically in talking about mental health and gaming geek therapy in that today?
That's just kind of basically going over what geek therapy is, and then we'll kind of like round robin it almost, like without any of the negative consequences of that.
Yeah, of course,
of course, because we don't want that right now. And just kind of having a little bit of fun with how we have worked with clients in this capacity, and what we've seen with a lot of them becoming better people of who they want to be through these different types of cultural artifacts, because that's super important.
It seems that way. So what? Okay, so harnessing this stuff through geek therapy, right? What is the if I'm coming to you and I'm struggling or that type of thing, and we want to dive into geek therapy for me, either as a streamer or as I am also an actor and voice actor in that, right? And I know you touched on some of those things in the panel. Where do you start with me?
We would probably all start with the clinical intake, and we'd kind of get an idea of what symptoms. Let's see everybody shaking their heads like, yep, this is where we start. We go and find out what are the main issues, and within all of our clinical intakes, we're going to probably utilize or ask questions around geek areas that we may or may not be interested in. So I have a lot of clients myself who are interested in anime, and so I have to watch a lot of anime right now. Things that I didn't even know existed, and I already watch a lot of anime or playing video games or something else. And then we tend to curate the sessions in a more nuanced and informed manner to be able to bridge the gap between, let's say, our mental health symptoms and these other ideas that we tend to use, whether it's an anime character inside of a show of creating a trope, or maybe it's our D&D character of who we want to be, or it allows us to play a different part of ourselves that normally life doesn't allow us to get to.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's something that we don't think about directly. We touched on a little bit ago, right? But we don't think about it directly as, okay, right, this character that I just built is an extension of me. Why? Well, because this is what I wanted to play. I wanted to play a sorcerer in this particular campaign of D&D, or I wanted to play this in World of Warcraft. I wanted to emulate this particular anime character, that sort of thing. So Starfire, you said you do a lot of work with anime as well, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So how does that connect with what you're doing, what Anthony was just saying, directly connecting into what you do you find?
Yeah, so I am definitely getting to know a lot more animes, some more obscure ones from the clients that I get. I feel like, when I get a client and they tell me about an anime that they really truly love, whether it's something that I've seen or not seen, I feel like that's kind of a gateway into who they are, because they connect for a reason, right? And we can find out a lot about them. through watching these animes, and especially finding out like what characters they're drawn to and why. I've utilized it in many different ways, most notably combining dialectical behavioral therapy with My Hero Academia. That was actually spawned by a 12-year-old boy that I had who loved My Hero, and I loved that he loved My Hero, and it kind of blossomed from there.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that. Now, okay, so we've talked a little bit about anime and some of that stuff that kind of pertains a little bit more for the older crowd. Lindsay, I do kind of want to kick it over to you in talking about the younger groups, right? What struggles maybe do you run into, and in kind of accessing those things with young minds, obviously, that they don't communicate like we do, and they won't for at least probably 10 plus years, right?
And you also have to consider that because I work in a school, most of the clients I work with are in the special education process. So a lot of them also have academic and learning and speech delays. I think what works for me is that in schools, my work is a lot more like a lot less traditionally therapy, but a lot more skills based. But then the other drawback to that is in schools, I'm very time limited and I don't have a 50-minute session with my kids because teachers will not let me take that much time out of their day.
Right.
So I have to kind of cram everything into a 30-minute time period. I think how I kind of get around that, especially with the younger kids, is I do a lot of this is what like prepping the session and then debriefing the session. So like, this is what we're going to do today. Okay, we're going to play, the two of you first graders are going to play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is an idea I stole directly from Dr. Bean. We have to split our controllers on the Switch. What do you think this practice is? And then at the end of our group time together, how do you think you did? What was hard? What did we practice today is one of my big questions. And even the first graders can get like, oh, we practiced like talking to each other and we practiced communicating so that we could go places where we wanted to. You just when you work with little kids, you just have to kind of get those flexibility and adaptive skills like really well honed because nothing ever goes the way I plan it.
Of course. Yes, I'll mention her one more time. But my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and she has to pivot so many times daily. It is amazing and it is incredible. So
try being a dungeon master.
Yeah, and I keep going back to that, thinking about my last dungeon master was a master of like 4 or 5 of us adults who didn't know quite what we were doing and was very patient with us. Yeah, imagine me 6 years ago, something like that. Crazy. So what I want to do now.
That's what it's like dungeon mastering for 4th graders.
Right? Of course.
I don't know. The adults can have the same type of attention span sometimes too.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Right? There was I want to just, Lindsay, kind of piggybacking off of this and going with a question from the chat that can go actually to everybody. But we'll start with you, Lindsay. Somebody asked, what is your experience with patients who have autism specifically?
That's actually a large portion of my my client base. My school has a specialized program for students with significant intellectual disabilities and autism. I'm still kind of working on how to integrate it fully with those students, mainly because those are my students that are the most verbally impacted. But for students with kind of higher functioning skills that maybe have the skills to be in a general education classroom most of the day, but also struggle with kind of reading those nonverbal cues, that theory of mind, being able to read what people are thinking. Dungeons and Dragons actually works really, really, really well for that, because not only do you have to kind of pay attention to what the NPCs are doing, but you have to pay attention to like how your group is doing too. I had one of my 5th grade boys ran up into a guard. We were playing Acquisitions Unlimited or Incorporated module, and he ran up into a guard, and the guard kept saying, well, is your name this? Are you on the list? And he kept launching into his whole backstory about how his village was destroyed by and he was raised by tieflings. And no, he's not on the list. So he was getting nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, like, come on, process. Like, let's go. It took him until the next week to be like, yeah, I wasn't really listening to him. But that, I mean, it's really interesting when you tap into a client's interests, and this goes to the D&D or the anime or any of the pop culture that they use. It's easy to use that as a door to teach skills and teach positive mental health behaviors.
Love that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you, Lindsay. We have not heard from Dr. Goku or Charlene for a minute, so I want to open it up to you two, and also Anthony or Star. Do any of you specifically have that experience with autistic patients or autism in general that you would like to touch on?
I don't typically treat people that are autistic. I do have some autistic individuals that are kind of more functionally inclined, because I work in one part of my private practice is I do a day at a university here. So they are in university, they are adjusting to it, but they seem to be hitting these barriers. And a lot of them are kind of hitting these barriers kind of for the first time, because for a lot of them, they've kind of flew under the radar. So their autism kind of flew under the radar, and they're hitting university and they're hitting these challenges. And I found that using geek therapy helps them kind of connect with things in a different way that isn't like strictly psychoeducation coming from a textbook.
Nice.
Because they
Very,
can
very nice.
they can link it to something they know, and then they can use this as a mirror to help them process through the information.
Very
yeah,
cool.
and that's what for me, I've only had a couple of clients that were neurodiverse on the spectrum. They definitely were practicing a lot of social skills, a lot of how to interact with people, and of course Dungeons and Dragons, I always say, is or any RPG is a great option, because you have those social rules are written down, and there are no doubts about it. And so that gives them an open, safe space to practice, saying things and being a certain person, and doing what they really want to do without having those like real world consequences.
Because I had one student actually tell me this week where this is kind of the first time they're looking for an autism evaluations or referring out to get them evaluated. And one of the questions I asked is, well, when you approach a social situation, how are you seeing it? And the way they were explaining it is essentially a flow chart in terms of meet person here, say X. If X doesn't work, try Z. And they were kind of going down this list.
Yeah, that's scripting. In a sense, it's a script that they've learned in a schema that they've been able to function in a lot of different ways, and that's what they've known. I work with adults and children who are neurodiverse, and they are some of the best people, in my opinion, that to ever work with, because they're going to challenge you as in ways as a therapist that you'll never be challenged in other ways. Yeah, everyone has depression. Yes, everyone has anxiety. Those things come up. You get bored of that type of thing. But when you start pairing it with geek therapy, there's a whole nother ballgame with that. But with the neurodiverse crowd, anime itself has all of the different ideas within the anime, overt facial expressions, ability to read them a lot more than what we can do in a one-on-one conversation. RPGs, video games, they create a great schema for tropes for us to be able to understand, oh, my family member's very much like this person from this anime. So if I understand how that person's going to react in such situations, I know how to interact with that person now on some level. And that's really the goal of what we're doing, is we're giving them a model to understand what they have to do. And so they can use what we call their superpower, aka their neurodivergence, in a manner that is beneficial for them, but also the people around them.
Wow, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Star, did you want to touch on that as well at all, with that connection to anime and that?
Yeah, I mean, I could. I don't have a lot of experience with autistic individuals. However, I do have several who are high functioning um, autistic teenagers. And mostly what we're working on is emotional regulation. And I found that a really fun way to do that is through their interests. So, like, for example, I have a 13-year-old who's very much into Pokemon. So I had her conceptualize her favorite coping skills into what a Pokemon might look like who encapsulates that coping skill. I gave her a printout of a blank Pokemon card. And she drew the Pokemon, she named it, she said what the abilities were, and what coping skill that was supposed to represent. And then I had her actually catch the Pokemon with an empty Pokeball that I had given her. So she can choose that Pokemon when she's in distress.
Mhm.
I love that. That's amazing. Do any of the rest of you have any strategies or things like that that you do?
I did something similar
less
with
with
Harry Potter.
Okay,
Sorry.
nice.
I
No,
did
I'll
one
tell you what.
too.
Well, why don't we start with Lindsay, and then
Um,
we'll jump up to Dr. Goku. So Lindsay, and then we'll jump to Dr. Goku. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we just kind of made paper mache wands, and then this is with first graders, and then I had them come up with kind of coping spells, which went really rough at first because they're 7. But basically, what I ended up doing is had them give me the words, and then I used Google Translate to translate them into Latin. So they
Cool.
sound like spells now. So now we kind of have our own list of spells. And that's kind of one of our opening things. Like, okay, give me a word. Like, before we get into our game for today, let's come up with a spell.
I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Dr. Goku, you were next on that one.
Sure. Yeah. I don't typically do a lot of these things because I work with an older population. Typically, it's
Yep.
around 17, 18 or older. But an exercise that I use often is one coming from Harry Potter, which is the Mirror of Erised.
Yeah.
So I often have them look at the mirror and saying, all right, so Erised spelled backwards is desire. What do you see? What is that desire? So kind of fundamentally going to those core elements that they may not want to share that they truly desire.
I like that. Very interesting. Very interesting. So back to you, Anthony. We have talked about a number of different things. A lot of fun stuff. There was another question in the chat about ADHD. So kind of going
Mhm.
along the same topic that we just had, but a tangent, obviously. So feel free to touch on that, or if there was anything else specifically that you wanted to go over right here, let us know.
Actually, I wanted to shift this one down to Charlene because if I know her, which little I do know her, this is one of her areas.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Well, just besides the fact that I have ADHD myself, so it definitely it's one of the only spaces that I feel like a lot of people can use their ADHD creativity and get rewarded for it. That's what they do. They think outside the box. They're problem solvers. They're the fun people to hang around. And I have one person who's in their 30s, right? And he was worried about role playing, and I was like, oh, okay, don't worry, whatever. But like his ADHD totally took over, and he's like, I'm gonna jump off that wall, and I'm gonna jump onto the back of the spider, and I'm gonna he ended up getting some venom from the spider, let's say it that way. And he just had a blast. And so his creativity and energy actually keep the game going and interesting. And it's so much fun to see people get reinforced positively for something that they probably really get a lot of negativity about. No, that's not the way we do things. Oh, here's the rules. This is how we actually do it. Here's the procedures, right? It's just amazing to see their face light up when when they're able to do something, it gets rewarded.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Fantastic. So we have another question here. What are, and I was actually going to ask you all about this at the very end. I want to know what your favorite video games are, but let's save that. Okay, we're going to hit that. We're going to hit that at the very end. So let's go right now to what are some of your favorite lesser known games that you use in your practice versus some of the more popular ones? And actually, if you want, you can go ahead and touch on some of the popular ones that you use too. Specifically, I know we've gone over this a little bit, but maybe dive a little more into how you specifically use either your lesser known or more well-known game.
I'll go start on this one. In session, I actually really like using a lot of different mini games on Roblox because it has such potential. Whether it's we're going to do a mining simulator for paying attention, perseverance, making sure we figure out what we have to do, or a team sport game. Whether Roblox doesn't really have amazing graphics, so you don't have to really worry about shooting and blood and guts and stuff like that. So it's a great co-op game there. There's also building games in there. There's a whole bunch of different things based upon what the client's needs are in that moment, or how did they have difficulties this week. Was a kid running away because he didn't want to participate with the other people? Okay, well, let's work on that participation. Let's work on that communication skill. Is someone feeling really overwhelmed and having a lot of difficulties being able to regulate their emotional content? Let's do a mining simulator. Let's talk about this as we're doing this, so you can feel monotonous. It can do that. Maybe we need to work on a different idea of being able to manage choosing the right decision at the right time. Let's do a tower defense. It has such great applicability to be able to utilize that in there. Plus, you can use all sorts of different types of AAA games. Anything can be therapeutic if it is used in the right context.
Nice. Nice. I like that. Next, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What do we, how about Starfire? We'll go next. We'll do that.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that because I use a lot of Roblox as well.
Awesome.
I have a lot of fun with Tower of Hell and emotion regulation and frustration tolerance because it is a jump puzzle. And if anyone's ever done a jump puzzle, they can get really frustrating. So having my kids go in there and do it, and then do it while practicing some of the like deep breathing and mindfulness kind of techniques that we've been talking about. I've had my kids get higher than they ever have in the jump puzzle before, and I go in there and do it too, so it's not like, okay, I'm gonna watch you do it. I'm in there too using the same skills because jump puzzles frustrate me too. A lesser known video game, maybe lesser known, I'm not sure. I use Journey a lot. One specific instance was with someone who's actually going through their master's program for mental health, and wasn't sure if this was the right field for her. She kind of felt as though maybe she wasn't good enough in her capabilities to be a therapist in going through this program. And I think that's a lot of what a lot of us struggle with when we're initially going through those programs. And Journey, I feel, is a really great game because it really encapsulates kind of the hero's journey, the trials, the tribulations, the mentorship, that not everything is going to go as planned, but that's okay, because as long as you push through and have this ultimate goal, you can self-actualize.
That's amazing. And I like those aspects that you talk about there within the game, right? Perseverance, looking at a situation, saying, hey, not everything is going to go the way I want it to, but if you push through, if you persevere, right, obviously you can get a lot done. Wow. I love that. I love that, Starfire. Just over. Charlene, how about for you? And then there's another question I'll ask actually later, but let's go with you. Lesser known video games, or if you have a particular, really popular one that you like to use, hit me.
So I'm an old schooler, so I love tabletop games. I'm sorry that those are like my favorite. I do
nothing to apologize for.
Nothing at all.
I just love the in-personness. I use D&D a lot, obviously.
Yes.
I'm looking into using Fiasco. There's another game that was a Kickstarter game that I don't know if anybody else saw it, but it was called Out of Our Shells. And it actually is a group game where you can bring it to like a party if you don't know everybody around, and you just kind of play this game and get to know each other and answer questions and things like that. I actually use that a lot with my anxiety clients. my social anxiety clients to go through conversations. You know, how do you have a back and forth? How do you act like you're interested when you're not necessarily interested? You know, things like that. And then for D&D, something that I do individual therapy with my group clients as well. So we have that extra time one-on-one to process what's going on in group and how they think they're doing and things like that. We actually have come up with mechanics. Each person individually have come up with mechanics to kind of represent what they may be struggling with, right? So, you know, as an example, anger issues, right? If you have an impulse for anger, okay, well, you are going to have disadvantage on the roll, but you are going to have a +2 on your damage because you're wilding out and you're going to use all your strength and everything like that. But you may not be as accurate, right? So things like that. And then the opposite is, okay, well, if you focus, then you have more, you know, that you're going to hit it. I'll give you advantage on the roll, you know, and you just do normal damage. So it really is really great to sit down with each person and try and figure out how to represent that thing that they may be struggling with.
I think that's really interesting because what it kind of touches on is this way of saying, okay, and we've actually talked about it before tonight, the idea of, okay, I'm going to reach, or if let's say I'm the patient, right, talking to me about my character that I've already created versus what you seem to touch on, correct me if I'm wrong, versus what you seem to touch on right here, Charlene, which is, why don't we create it together and decide, okay, this is what you're coming in for, this is what you want to work on. Why don't we build a character instead of going based on what you already have? Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I have them do is I actually give them it's not called Knives, Forks, and Spoons. It's great. I don't know if anybody else uses it, but it's a background story creator. So it just asks, like, what's your character's favorite soup? Like, what's your what is your character's motivation for adventuring? And they answer those questions and they answer them for their characters, but they're the ones answering the questions.
Yeah.
So more than likely you're going to get, you know, what they're dealing with in there as well, at least a tiny bit. And I tell my clients, you can put as much of you in there as you want, or as little of you, you know, in there. Cause we talk about, you know, playing your ideal self versus your current self, you know, all those things. But, and then I try and throw those things into each, I definitely do a lot of, what do you call it? Like where you're focusing on one player and their characters and things like that. And it just, you see their eyes light up and they get excited about, you know, being able to work on this stuff.
Of course. I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you, Charlene. Okay, so now I very specifically have a reason for doing this. I would like to go to Lindsay because of not only the D&D connection, right? But also I want to hear a little bit about the similarities and differences as you're talking, you know, you obviously working with the younger crowd. And then after that, I want to go to Dr. Goku because I have another specific question for him. So Lindsay, hit me. Piggybacking off of that and then letting me know about some of the lesser known games that you use.
Well, and I am a less experienced DM than Charlene is. That was basically my pandemic project, was to teach myself how to DM. So I DM'd before I ever played D&D, which is a little crazy in itself. So most of the time I stick to modules in 5e. So with my 4th graders, I'm playing the starter set with them. And mainly that's because, and we can get into the whole project I'm doing with the 4th graders later, but I'm training 5 4th graders to be DMs for their classmates.
Nice. That has got to be chaos.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, I could talk forever about them. They're doing such a good job. But yeah, having 5 4th graders playing D&D and then watching them run games with their own groups and kind of like make up their own rules, and like the control part of me being like, like, okay, like you can't befriend the bugbear. He's like the bad guy. But okay.
But why?
Yeah, of course. I love it.
You go. So we've been using the 5e starter set with the Lost Mine of Phandelver for that kind of whole group, just because it's easy to pick up. Then all my materials are right there. and then the kids have access to it, and it was fairly cheap. It's only $20 for the box, so I was
Yeah.
able to get 5 kits.
Mhm.
In terms of lesser known games that I play with my kids, I found a really great game at an art gallery called Space Team. It's a card game, and basically the idea is you're on a spaceship and you're trying to get home and it's falling apart. So you need to like work with everyone at the table to fix the parts that are breaking, but you're ending up like shouting all over each other to like, hey, I need this part, hey, I need this part, and like passing like crazy. So I mean, that's practicing emotional regulation right there, listening to each other, kind of all that executive functioning.
Yeah.
The other board game I play a lot is Forbidden Island. And that's it's a cooperative game where you have to collect 4 treasures and get off an island as it's slowly sinking underneath you. I always have to think about the name because my kids always call it Sink Island, so then I just call it Sink Island.
Yep.
Mhm.
In terms of video games, I have a Wii and a Switch in my office. So on the Wii, we do a lot of Wii Sports. I've been taking some data this year on giving kids a 5-minute Wii Sports boxing break and their self-reported level of anger and frustration before and after the break. And that's really been amazing. Like a lot of them come in, they're like, I'm at a 9. I really need this. I'm at a 9. And then they leave. By the time they leave, they're like, I'm okay. I'm at like a 1 or a 2. And then the Wii bowling is really, really hard. So we practice perseverance, emotional regulation, some motor skills. And then boom blocks on the Wii is good for that too. And then on Switch, the one I really, really like is 1-2 Switch, because it's a game where you have to look at each other. So like, whereas they're used to playing games and we're watching the screen and we're not watching each other, this is really nice. And like, eventually I'll probably get in trouble because my favorite one on there is Quick Draw, where you're a cowboy and you have to like draw your gun. But it really practices those looking at each other's skills.
Nice. Nice. Not only do I love your response, Lindsay, but it takes me directly into the question I mentioned earlier. So, Dr. Goku, okay? Now, there's a reason that I saved you for last, mister, okay? And that would be, I do want to hear about the lesser-known video games that you use, but she mentioned it right there. She mentioned some weaponry, right? You mentioned Destiny earlier, and I want this to be a question not only for everybody, but right now for Dr. Goku, and then after that, Anthony. Violent video games. Violent video games, violent video games. We everybody either loves them or hates them. They are very polarizing. They are very controversial. Okay? Do you use them? Why do you use them? Is there a benefit? Hit me with your take there, Dr. Goku, and then Anthony.
Well, I've always seen the violence in video games as secondary to what you're playing. So if I can just use Destiny as an example. So yeah, there is shooting in the game. You're shooting aliens. But the whole point of the game is how you collaborate with people. So the main thing is raids. And with Destiny, we're coming up to a new content launch next week. There's a new raid coming out in 2 weeks. So you're facing these encounters and you're grouping up with 5 other people and you're trying to figure out these puzzles. The shooting and the DPS is second.
Right.
Let's figure out how to do these puzzles, how to get this mechanic down. So it really teaches resilience. It teaches perseverance, problem solving, collaboration. And to me, that's the key aspect. The whole violence is, it's cathartic in a way, but there's no real correlation with real world violence after you play violent video games.
Right. And for those of us who know violent video games, play them, enjoy them, all of that, that is easier for us to understand than maybe for some others. So now, going off of that question, and I want to take this to Anthony. Okay, so Anthony, your take on the violent video games, and Dr. Goku was mentioning Destiny, which is more based on your raids, right? So in that sort of circumstance, you know, somebody from the outside could be like, okay, well, it is about the team thing because it's a PvE or it's whatever, right? But Call of Duty, no, or Halo, the 5v5 or whatever, no, never that. What is your take on the differences between those games, Anthony?
I think that they all have a simple idea behind them, and they all play differently, yes, but still the same idea is behind them. Of usually you're a lone rogue, you've been orphaned, you've been abandoned in some capacity. Therefore, you must band together and overcome this heroic destiny. It's just a heroic journey that all video games have. And if you think about many of the video games that we play, you are either orphaned or singled out or left for dead right early in the beginning because it clicks on us as an archetypal image, and it makes us feel connected to the character, and that's what brings us into that presence or that immersion aspect for us to actually play the game. If most games that don't have that fail very quickly, because you really have with a gamer about 2 to 3 minutes of playing just to either get them in or it's done. They're like, yeah, what's next? That's what you got. With the violence thing, we've done tons and tons of research. Video games do not produce violence. It might increase aggression scores, but aggression does not equate to violent tendencies.
Nope.
We can all have some aggression. This comes from frustration. We all become frustrated. How do we deal with it? What can we do to get there? Yes, I missed that shot. Cool, you were sniping for 300 yards away. A lot of people would have missed that shot.
Right. And you're going to get frustrated with the jumping puzzles in Mario.
Yep.
So
or the Yoshi jump where you have to sacrifice Yoshi.
Oh.
Yeah. Absolutely, right?
I mean, that just made me go kill dinosaurs, so.
Yeah, right. There, yeah. I love that. Awesome. Okay. So, folks, we have an amazing panel today, and we're dwindling down on a few minutes here. I do want to know, what are your favorite video games? Lindsay, I want to start with you, and then we'll kind of go all the way around. Lindsay, tell me your personal favorite video game, and maybe if there is any sort of therapeutic aspect of it for you, if there is anything that you find in that way in your favorite video game or favorite video games.
Honestly, when I'm stressed out, my go-to game is Skyrim. Just because it's a good escape. You can be a hero. But it might be. I just got the Demon Slayer game for Xbox for my birthday, and I love Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
So that might be kind of taking over.
Very cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, Starfire, you are next. Your favorite video game. Hit me.
I'm gonna have to say games. I'm a huge MMORPGer. So you were talking about World of Warcraft before. I was a vanilla player up until Cataclysm, and then came back for Classic. But right now, I'm super obsessed with Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing it for about 5 years. I raid, Savage, Ultimate Fights, you name it, I have cleared it. So those are my games right now. And I just started playing Lost Ark, and I'm kind of getting absorbed into that.
Very cool. And I've heard polarizing things about Lost Ark, so I'm glad to hear somebody who is enjoying the game and is willing to kind of stick with it, at least for the time being.
I'm giving it a go. I understand the polarization. I am on some of the fence there. You know, especially with the gender locked classes. I feel like that's very dated. Very dated. And I was very upset because I wanted to be a female paladin, and apparently you can't. So
not very 2022 of them, is it?
No, it's not. Get woke. But Final Fantasy 14 takes up most of my time, so that's okay.
Awesome. Okay, and WoW, obviously, what do you play? What's your main in WoW?
My main in WoW was a holy priest.
Okay.
And in Final Fantasy, I am a Viera white mage. I only play healers.
Awesome.
Except for Lost Ark, there really isn't a healer. I'm a sorceress in that. So
nice. There you go. Okay, taking care of the heals. Starfire. I love it. Charlene, you are next. Favorite game and what it does for you.
Right.
Therapeutically, mentally, however you want to take that question, Charlene.
Yeah, so I'm like, I do video games, but it's actually my son's way more into video games than I am. So he really likes playing Fortnite with me because we always end up the last like 2 in the game.
For sure.
And he gets really excited. Just RPGs in general. I forgot how much I loved Call of Cthulhu. It is a very good game. It is a little, there's some
It's
stuff
dark.
behind that. It's dark. It's a
Sure.
horror game. But it really does give you the ability to explore yourself, explore how you react to really scary things in life, things like that. And it just is a whole heck of a lot of fun based in, the Cthulhu mythos. But D&D also, I really love playing a bard.
Nice.
So I play the loud, boisterous, like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna sing for you while you
Sweet.
while you fight." So that's just fun for me. Again, with ADHD, like just being able to be creative and create the world around you is amazing.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Charlene. Dr. Goku, we'll go to you next.
Sure. So while I love Destiny, some of my favorite games are just sitting over my shoulder there. So Mega Man X and Metroid have been this staple throughout my life. And for me, Metroid is this encapsulation of let's use whatever you have in your arsenal, figure out where you need to go, and figure out the environment around you, which is kind of teaching us resilience in a way that we need to in real life.
I love that. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Goku.
Yeah.
Dr. Anthony Bean, let's head to you, sir.
Legend of Zelda. Absolutely. It's my go-to. It's what I play. I've played them all so much.
Yeah.
And more recently, I've really gotten back into Pokemon with a new one because it really feels like you're a Pokemon master in this one. And it is charming to go back to that in that childhood on that one. But I also know where we are in the time. And so I also wanted to just say thank you very much for having us all. And if anyone wants to kind of get in touch with us, all of our names are here somewhere on social media, but you can also find us over at Geek Therapeutics on any social media. Just type it in, you'll find us.
Yes, amazing. Thank you to all of you, Anthony, Lindsay, Star, Charlene, and Dr. Goku. Thank you, every single one of you, for your insights and for being a part of this panel. This has been a ton of fun, and I think it's been a good insight for a lot of people into what video games can do. And we're talking across the spectrum, right? From adolescence all the way up to where any of us are right now or where any of us are going. Not like video games are going anywhere and that. So I love it. Fantastic. Thank you to everyone. And take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Amazing, folks. Thank you all so much. And we are going to move things over to Dom. Dom is who I am introducing at this point. Thank you. So Dom loves all things tech and creates internet content around it. He tries to convert the bells and whistles of tech gadgets into something your parents would appreciate. Dom. And do we have Dom here yet, or are we going to run to a break here? Dom, hey!
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you, boss?
I'm doing great.
Amazing. I'm going to pass it off to you. Thank you, and take care, my man.
All right, thank you. Have a great day. Hello, everyone. My name is Dom Esposito, and welcome to Save a Spoon. And this is all about setting healthy boundaries in fintech. Now, Save a Spoon will focus on establishing those healthy habits and boundaries for sustained success in fintech and also crypto. So we're actually going to be joined by a couple of guests here, and we'll be utilizing Christine Dino's spoon theory as a shared ground for discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce, we have Jeff Shearer and Will Gaines, who are going to be joining us for this session here, and we'll get that kicked off here shortly. How's everybody doing today? How you doing?
Oh, don't know if Will's in yet.
Oh, I don't see him yet. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for the kind intro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. And I guess we'll let you kick it off while we wait for Will to join us.
Yeah, no problem. So big shout out. Thank you so much to Geek Beacon. This is a wonderful opportunity and really appreciate all the work that y'all have done. This is a monumental event, and I can't imagine the production that's gone into it, especially with evolving tech and Web3. I think, there's more need than ever with a focus on mental health. And especially from a developer and engineering perspective, sometimes we lose sight of that with the sprints. So yeah, without further ado, I guess we can kick off. Really, today's speakership or this panel presentation is about utilizing spoon theory as a way to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, right? Similar to oxygen mask, right? There are a number of great resources, and we're seeing an emergence within highly competitive industries for those to refocus on the mental health and mental wealth of each incorporation or LLC or company or project's employees for mutual success, right? And we'll get into a lot of that as well. I'm not sure, because I'm in presentation mode right here, if we got Will on with me.
I'm here, Jeff. It's good to be here, everybody. Sorry, my hotel internet is not up to speed, but I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be talking about mental health and its importance as we do business.
Brilliant. We'll do some quick intros really quick. This is myself. I'm a 15 plus year marketing professional with 6 years in fintech and blockchain, with 6 years in nonprofit. And now, thankfully, I've been able to merge those two fields with Proof of Good, working in the first nonprofit crypto space that I have before. And I have to tell you, it's highly rewarding. In addition to that, I've myself afflicted or somebody that sometimes celebrates, sometimes loathes obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, seasonal affective disorder, generalized depression, and generalized anxiety. A little bit more about me. So having worked with literacy programs for mayor's offices in the city of Rochester and then at Rockefeller University and biomedical research along Nobel laureate science, it's something I've always had a passion for. And I took a diversion over to fintech and then into crypto. And crypto is a fascinating field insofar as in fintech at large, there's many questions that have never been answered. And so each day you're asked to find creative solutions to novel problems, things that haven't been done before. There aren't the longitudinal data that you would find in other industries. And so we're often asked to go above and beyond, and often at the detriment to ourselves and our self-care and our own mental health. We'll get into some of that later, and I'm happy to answer questions specific to my experience given OCD, PTSD, SAD, depression, and anxiety during a Q&A section at the culmination of this presentation. In the meantime, let me introduce my co-presenter here, amongst the best in the biz. This is Will Gaines.
Thank you for that, man. What an introduction. How's it going, everyone? I hope that you're all doing well through the screen, and I wish you all the success and happiness that the world has waiting for you. I've been in marketing roles and different industries for many years. I have Benjamin Button syndrome, so I'm actually in my late 70s, but you wouldn't guess it. So I've been in blockchain for a few years. As you can see, I was in the nonprofit sector, really more so in the community organizing sector, working with nonprofits. I spent time working with the state of California as a district representative for a state senator with an issue area specific to mental health and homelessness, working with the Department of Mental Health, and kind of the things that lead people to being homeless. And one of the many ways that happens, unfortunately, is because of a lack of mental care. And so I'm grateful to be talking about it with you all now. I was grateful to do the work that I was able to do and interact with the men and women who are helping mentally heal the world. So really grateful for this. Grateful to Geek Beacon and everybody that's here at the festival right now, and all the amazing sponsors that participate in this as well, and eager to get into this conversation and just really let everybody know that as important as it is to be financially free and financially stable and to pursue our career goals, it is equally, if not more important, to take care of ourselves and to prioritize self-care. So I'm grateful that everybody is here right now talking about ways that we can do that. So Jeff, let's get into it, man. Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for introducing yourself, Will. Always a pleasure. So really quickly, this is what we're going to be discussing today, right? So we're going to be using spoon theory. Is something that I have found solace in, and hopefully it might pertain to you. It's not necessarily the most emergent theory. It's not a theory that's perfect and without its own flaws, but for practical adoption and operation in your daily life, especially if you happen to be somebody that is going through some of the pitfalls of mental health and navigating mental health and self-care within financial technology and crypto, but really in development engineering or tech fields where you're expected to do the 996 or various levels of sprint. We'll get into that also. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into what spoon theory is. Use that as a frames of shared reference for today's discussion. We'll hop into the threats to your spoon supply, various threats to mental health, seen and unforeseen, working in fintech, and then of course resources for spoon stockpiles. How you can build up your spoons to the best that you can to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And then we'll close out with a Q&A before the festival closes out itself at 8 p.m. And don't miss the game night starting at 9 p.m. also. I'll be there. Moving right ahead. So spoon theory. If you're unfamiliar, this is a really easy kind of approach to codifying what your needs are. It's a metaphor that's used to describe the amount of mental or physical energy any given person has for daily activities and tasks. And the unit of measurement is a spoon used to quantify mental energy that any person has for activities during a time period, a day or a week. A lot of it is open to interpretation. And again, find what works for you, where X activity costs Y number of spoons. I'll show you an example momentarily. But when your spoons are depleted, there is this inability to complete the other tasks that are needed to be accomplished until you replenish them. And in the classical definition of spoon theory, this is only replenished by rest. Again, find what works. Shout out to the spoonies, shout out to Squirrel Army. Within the Squirrel Army, there are people that use spoon theory that go by spoonies. Anything on that, or shall we move forward? Well,
I'm loving listening to you talk about this. This is a really inspiring moment right now. Just for people who don't know me personally, I'm at ETH Denver right now, representing Proof of Good DAO, and getting to listen to Jeff talk about these things and empower people about tools for helping them with mental health. I'm a proud colleague of his in this moment. I don't have anything to add, man. Let's keep it going. I'm loving this right now.
All right, cool. Let's rip and ride. So how many spoons do I have to spend each day? This is something that, really for me, what worked in addition to some other steps of self-care and learning and changing cognitive patterns and reinforcing those that are healthy and those that are not. If you're interested in trying this out, pick something. You don't have to necessarily worry about whether or not what you start off with is wrong. You can self-correct. You're a smart person yourself. So let's use 10 daily spoons for the purposes of this discussion or this example. And, those numbers of spoons may change based on your own health or circumstances, of course. Take a new job or, maybe there's a family issue. It's important to stay cognizant of how your life is changing to be able to really adapt your your own spoon schedule, so to speak. So how many spoons do my daily tasks and activity require each day? First and foremost, it's nice to look at what you have and know what brings you joy. And some activities won't require any spoons at all. For example, I like to bookbind, and I like to try to play new instruments. I can play you a mean hot cross buns on clarinet. So that's something, but that doesn't cost me any spoons. But really what we're trying to identify here is from your daily spoons, how many spoons does each task take? And is another example, if you have to do in your role monthly budget for your team, you know that is a burdensome task and that takes 5 spoons at the end of each month. How do you plan in advance for that? So here's an example of what that might look like. If you have 10 spoons a day, this is an example work week for me. A lot of the work that I do is in management and or operational production on marketing within crypto and fintech. Again, working for Proof of Good and Leyline at the moment. A highly rewarding experience because I get to work with highly motivated people who are trying to provide as much impact as they can to those in need. And I get to work alongside people like Will. So what's not to love? But you can see here just really quickly an example, right? So I know that like Wednesdays, I've got meetings, but that's when the work gets really difficult, right? And that is a huge threat to the amount of spoons that I have. I've listed it out here for meetings, work, exercise, socialization, and then hobbies. If you look down on the hobbies line here, I'm a man of, I guess I'm easily distractible. I have a number of hobbies that I want to get into, but they take a spoon. And then I've got other hobbies that they're leisurely. They're regenerative in nature. So they're between 0 and -1 spoon. I might get a spoon back for it just to take some time to regenerate. You know, if I crocheted and I could watch my favorite show and crochet with muscle memory, I might get a spoon back in the day. And then down on the lowest 2 rows that you'll see here, you can see the total spoons that I've spent out of the 10 I've allocated for myself each day, and how many that I have remaining. And going back to really the topic of this room is, you know, always save a spoon for yourself. You don't want to be in a situation where you know, in the spirit of resiliency, you want to be able to save a spoon and approach each day with gusto and the ability to do what you do well with all, you know, with your entire tool chest at your disposal. And when you undercut yourself by, let's say on Sunday night or a Saturday night, you know, spending 15 spoons out at the club or a party or a Super Bowl party or at your father-in-law's house, you know, sometimes these unanticipated spoon needs will pop up. So if you save a spoon for yourself, you'll always be in the black. So something to take care of. In the example of the calendar that I show below, Wednesdays are always tough for me, right? It's a lot of work. We do a lot of public meetings. Exercise and social is something that I won't, you know, I need to do for my own mental health. But that means at the end of the day, I had no time for hobbies and I had no time for unanticipated spoon requirements. And so you can see that reflected in the remaining column here, but it's something probably need to adjust, figure out what I can do to plan some restorative activities. Well, let's jump into that. Well,
the way that you broke it down, Jeff. This is I took a picture of it so that I could create my own, because I think it's a really good way of breaking it down as well. I like that you separated work and meetings. I usually put those in the same column.
Oh yeah. It's you know, and other people have, you know, meetings for some people, for you may not be something that you spend spoons on. Maybe this is your flow state and you come out feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you got to find, you know, what is applicable and what is irrelevant for you. This is just kind of a mock-up of something that I keep for myself, and this is about the weekly one. But I'm also fortunate enough now to be in a more productive state, having used this spoon theory as a jumping off point for my own mental health, alongside a number of other resources that have helped me be in a position where I feel comfortable talking about this. I mean, I could get into specific issues with OCD and related, but with interest to keep this as accessible as possible, I'll save kind of my own personal stuff to the Q&A if there are other people that find that of benefit. So
Yeah.
Moving on. Sorry, go ahead, Will. I think I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, one of the things that I really appreciated about your list is that you were including the importance of socializing, physical care, as well as pursuing your work and your hobbies, like to the fullest extent possible. And it was something that really inspired me about a mental health program that exists in a city in Italy called Trieste. We've spoken about this before, Jeff, but for people who aren't familiar, one of the main things that leads to, you know, mental health related problems in someone's life is a lot of these things are missing in their daily life, right? So there's not prioritizing that goes into taking care of our bodies. We don't have enough time to build our community and to socialize with the people that matter most. A lot of us focus exclusively on work, or some people focus exclusively on socializing or exclusively on exercise. And it's having all of these things together and managing them, as Jeff so massively does here. And I know that for you as well, Jeff, some days it's not as easy to manage all these things. And some days you might use an extra spoon. You really didn't want to use that one. And you push yourself. Like I see that on Wednesdays, you're in the red. So I really appreciate that. And just, you know, just adding some extra emphasis, y'all. Like, it's not selfish of you to do these things. It's actually for the betterment of not just your colleagues and your work life, but just your general happiness. If you put some time, it could be 5 minutes, 2 minutes here or there, you know, just for yourself. Just like, you know, do a plank or something, you know, call a friend, 5 minutes just for you. It makes a massive difference. Can turn a horrible day into a great one. I just want to say that, Jeff. We can keep going though, my man.
No. Actually, you know, it brings up a point. Like, you know, if you're looking at the Saturday column over here, right? I've got like two spoons scheduled out for social activities. Social activities are, I mean, I'm an ambivert myself, you know, but you wouldn't necessarily know that if you went out to, you know, get coffee with me or go to a party or Super Bowl party or whatever that looks like. But it's extraordinarily socially draining. I come home and I'm ready to fall over, right? Utilizing spoon theory, we can make sure that we're prepared for that socialization, so that we can still be human when we get home from those. And then my current work schedule dictates that, you know, I work 6 days a week, and particularly working within fintech and crypto. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but like communicating and establishing some boundaries there, so that I don't work at all on Sunday. Sunday is just some time for me, and I keep a number of spoons in reserve so that I can enter Monday, you know, ready to hit the work week and tackle, you know, new and novel problems. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump on. So what are the spoon regenerative activities I need to do each day? If you know what provides you some regenerative activities, like working out, if that gives you energy or makes you feel better about yourself, you know, just identifying these, what restores your mental and physical health. In traditional spoon theory, this is only established by rest. However, you know, and I'm sure that there's hardliners within the Spoonie community. I found kind of making this my own has been of extraordinary value to me. So I really identifying the activities that restores your balance to begin each day anew. so we can jump right over here. We're going to go through up next kind of what we can do, what we can look out for, and some resources. Let's move on. Great. So at least in fintech, there's a lot of threats to your well-being. Churn and burnout amongst the highest, right? So again, going back to this 996, having worked with a number of developers, particularly within Asia Pacific, the 996 schedule, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, is pretty standard for a sprint. And at some point, you have to evaluate if this position is appropriate for you. If this position is something that you can find your own well-being within, and then also, be sure that you're ready to communicate that. I would say that fintech often moves fast, but it's also quite skittish in addition to its volatility. By setting some boundaries and some best practices for your own well-being and self-care, I've found to be extraordinarily helpful, because I've been burned out. I've done the 100+ hour work weeks, and it's very difficult to maintain that. And as Ariana Huffington has identified with her company Thrive, it's unsustainable. And if you continue to do that, you don't know how your performance is dropping, but others may. And so again, going back to self-care, there's some very basic preparation that you can do to make sure that you are preparing for what is going to be a tough work week or a tough sprint. And so identifying these threats might help you do that. Burnout, in addition to that, poor diet. One of the things, that's really, I love to cook, but one of the things that's really hard for me to do when I don't have any spoons left is to make myself a meal. There's some shortcuts around that, really, really simply. Find some healthy foods you can prepare in advance. You don't have to go full Sunday meal prep, like a dad preparing a week load of meals for him and his kids and partner. But that's an option, and so maybe you don't feel like, going to the grocery store, getting everything, and then doing the whole production. Having some preparedness in place so that you can grab a lunch out of the fridge, or you can order something in, but making sure that you're getting the nutrients that you need. You'll find a giant bolster to your energy. And if you're eating, healthy foods with a healthy diet, sustained energy, not these high dopamine, peaks and valleys. And so it's just something to pay attention to. Again, a lack of support, not having a Spoonie or a Squirrel Army community. If you're in a fortunate position to have a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, or even family, people that you can talk to, that you can vocalize, right? I'm reminded of the phrase, "No man is an island." And as much as I try to be, it's not necessarily the most healthy thing. A lack of community, finding people that are, again, Squirrel Army, or not necessarily within the mental health community, but also maybe you like to join a shuffleboard league, things that are not going to add to the stressors in your life. Lack of healthy habits and rituals. So, I don't know that everybody has that friend that tries to drag you out to a pub on Tuesday afternoon or Friday early happy hour. To the extent that you can mitigate those habits and rituals that are depleting towards your mental health, this is a longer conversation, but establishing healthy habits and rituals gets you in the practice of staying away from those dopamine, serotonin peaks and valleys, rewiring the brain for steady flow of that which brings you joy, instead of, on one end, drugs or something for a quick fix to bring you back up to functional. A lack of exercise, I find, especially while we're working remote, very, very difficult to necessarily, get into a gym when gyms aren't available, or go for a walk when everybody, people aren't outside, as is evidenced earlier during the pandemic. Establishing an exercise routine that you stick to and you don't deter from. Again, it could be 1 plank a day. It could be, I want to do 1 push-up, but I did my 1 push-up today, and I'm not going to slouch on doing that 1 push-up today. Next week, okay, I got through 1 week of doing 1 push-up. Let's try 5. Right? Very, very straightforward. A lack of preparedness for those that have generalized anxiety, as I do, amongst others. Taking the steps to wrap up your day or to start your day, right? Helps you with preparedness, gets you in the mindset. And of course, lack of sleep. This is the big star one for me. Your circadian rhythm is incredibly important. It cannot be understated. It is the basis by which spoon theory is uses as a foundation, I should say. And establishing those healthy sleep schedules, even if you don't if your body doesn't naturally produce the hormones needed for a regulated sleep schedule, store-bought is fine. And again, going back to those that may be introverted or ambiverted, over socialization, and for those that may be extroverts, under socialization can be equally detrimental to your well-being. Cool. I'm gonna jump ahead then. What we're gonna take a look at is actually a video that Kraken, for like a 90-second video from Kraken CEO Jesse Powell, alongside their head of talent, who will be discussing some of the issues that they have experienced with employees working at Kraken. So we'll turn it over here.
This is how to grow roles. Kraken does not really offer a good place for you, if that describes you. Of interviewing, then I highly encourage you to ask your hiring manager what the work hours are expected of you, and to let your hiring manager know what personal or non-work obligations or commitments you have, and what hours or what days you are not going to be able to be responsive and online. And I think that would be the beginning of really good communication between you and the hiring manager, because there isn't a hiring manager who's going to say, you need to be online and available 24/7, 365. That would be unrealistic and unhealthy. But depending on the hiring manager and the role, they might absolutely say, like, in this case, if there's an emergency, can I call your cell phone? Are you comfortable with that? Or with this role.
So I'm going to, sorry about this. One second. Not sure that that's the exact clip that I wanted. It doesn't seem to be pulling up at the right spot. So let me paraphrase after I get this back on screen. Sure. So this is a fantastic interview. If you are interested in joining the joining Kraken, I believe they're at 2,500 employees. I believe the largest company, crypto company in the world at this point. Part of their onboarding process is this 2-hour-long video about what it is to work at Kraken. And while this video didn't pull up the specific time stamp that I was looking for, the entire video, which you can find on YouTube, is extraordinarily helpful in continuing the conversation that we're having here. But what I did want to point out is there's a specific spot, obviously not in the video that we've just reviewed, but really looks at, we were on a, to paraphrase, they were on a team and they noticed that somebody on their team was delivering work at 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 9 a.m., all throughout the day. And it was like, well, this person's only getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. And that is an equation for burnout, and identifying not just within a team, but really within yourself. This is something that will not last. You know, at least it doesn't last for me. If you're somebody that operates on 4 hours of sleep and that's regenerative for you, that you're able to get your 10 spoons back for the following day, you may find that works for you. And certainly as we progress through our career, typically over the age of 65, our requirements for sleep are less. And I intend to be retired before 65 or before 70, but we will see. And I would encourage everybody to go check out this video. I can share this amongst the team and in the Discord as well. But really just looking out for one another and making sure that you're looking out for yourself. The work can wait. If you're not taking care of yourself, the quality of your work diminishes. The number of meetings that are going to be ill prepared or missed entirely certainly increases. And I've got great experience with that. And it's a very unfortunate position to be the one who has to explain. I burnt the candle at both ends, and the company is not necessarily going to look out for you the way that you invest in the company. So please be cognizant of that. Again, I'll send a timestamp video of this. Apologies that it wasn't queued up to the exact timestamp. Anyways, jumping ahead. Right. So we've talked about some of the threats to well-being. How about some habits and rituals for success? These are really boilerplate. You may find that your own are much different, but like really straightforward. Make your bed, take a shower in the morning, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, get dressed for work. Especially if you're working remotely, it's ever more important. It sounds like really simple stuff. You'd be surprised. You may be surprised how beneficial it is for you to take these really basic steps. But it's all under the guise or under the umbrella of establishing a healthy morning routine, right? To prepare yourself and your mind and your body some time to wake up, to go about the day, to spend some time just focused on you, to do the things that you need to do your job to the best of your ability. As it pertains to working, own your battle station. A lot of like DAOs and Web3 companies have like dedicated channels in their Discord, like show us your battle station, right? And it's all to reinforce this idea that you don't want to be working from bed. Like you need to be set up in whatever your battle station looks like, but own it, take some pride in it, and then make sure that you work from it. You may hear somebody's upset with the parking outside. Sorry about that. Breaks. When I worked at Coin Network not too long ago, one of our CEO founders every single day had scheduled walk around the block for 1 hour every single day, and you couldn't intrude upon that. They made sure that for 1 hour every day, they were getting out, they were just walking in Chicago, nonetheless, including through the winter. But it was important to them that they were able to clear the air, listen to what they wanted to, and get out. I can't really enforce or reiterate how important that is. And some jobs or some roles, you're not going to have the same ability to do that. So managing expectations is going to be part of the conversation for your continued success. Personal time, gaming, working out, socializing, cooking, whatever brings you joy, but find some time to take away, get off the grid. And then a bedtime routine, similar to your morning, right? So whether that's, I've got smart lights in my house now that at 9 p.m., all the lighting changes down to blue and purple and like begin to wrap down the day. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm completely done with everything that I need to do, but I'm setting the tone for my bedtime routine to be able to hopefully have a successful sleep throughout the night. And then, of course, self-care. Depending on how you assign spoons to your self-care rituals, these are basic steps that you'll hear time infinitum about making sure that you are taking care of yourself. So whether that's taking a bath, whether that's getting a massage, whether that's painting your nails or trimming your beard, those might be distinct to some people. For me, it's both. And then identifying what hobbies and zero spoon activities that you might have. So for instance, going back to my point earlier, I like playing clarinet. I like playing piano. I like bookbinding myself, and those don't cost me any spoons to do. Well, maybe clarinet because I'm awful, but otherwise. So Will, do you have anything on that, or should we move right on?
You've been saying such amazing things. I could go off for a minute, but I know that we got a decent amount of questions and a little bit longer to go. So I think we can keep going. I'll just say everything that Jeff is speaking on right now is incredibly important. And I understand that many of us are working so hard that it seems really difficult to do some things during the day, like to find that time. And the idea of, if you're not getting that, the idea of leaving a job that might not be fulfilling those needs, is all these stressors of life. But I just want to encourage you all again, as we move to further into this conversation, like these things can be very small on a day-to-day basis. Like, it doesn't have to be all in one. It doesn't need to be every day that you're, taking an hour walk, because I know sometimes we don't have the opportunity to do that. But if you can, it's amazing. Like, do whatever means necessary to take care of yourself on a daily basis, even if it's for 20 seconds, where you just like look in the mirror and you're like, you're awesome. That's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, no. It's a very salient point. Like I don't always have time for a walk around the block or, 30 minutes of meditation in between meetings. In fact, I prefer not to do meditation in between meetings. I like that as a morning activity. But, even taking a minute to think cognitively about your breathing is, so really just identifying what are your habits and rituals for success. Maybe you don't wash your hair every day, but you still want to take a shower. Maybe you don't need to shower every day. I would maybe argue against that, but maybe you don't paint your nails, right? So just identifying what habits and rituals get you back in a restorative manner each day. And under spoon theory, making sure that these regenerative processes are in place so that you have given yourself or your future self the tools for success.
I'll show one right now. I'm eating some candy while we're doing this. It comes in many forms, y'all.
I love it. Hard candy, soft candy, jujubes.
I'm going to say sour gummies, but I won't say the brand because they're not sponsoring this. If they sponsor GeekBeacon next year, I'll say their name.
Love it. Right. So then we've talked about threats to well-being. We've talked about successes and behaviors, but more along the lines of establishing boundaries for success. Again, your mileage may vary here, and you have to find what is and is without scope or not in scope for your current role, while you are looking or entertaining offers for other roles. These are the things to also consider. But for those who are already employed and those in your current role, set a start time and end time and stick to it, right? So Sunday, I do zero work. I don't work. I focus on life and self-care. So 2021 was the year of self-care for me, but I've adopted those principles to be able to continue that all the way through 2022. 2022 is my year of resiliency, trying to let things brush off my shoulder as it may. Whatever. Set a start time and end time and stick to it to the extent that your team and your position allows you to do so, specifically within fintech. As long as you save a spoon, you should be able to address any emerging forest fires or fires within the company because you've planned ahead. And if you communicate that with your team, I don't do Sundays. I mean, I've heard instances of people manufacturing the idea of having a child because it was easier to say, "Oh, I'm with my kid on Sundays," than saying, I just need some time to myself 1 day a week, you know, and I'm not sure that that's the mode that you need to, or the approach that anybody wants to go with. However, it is certainly an avenue for establishing some boundaries. I would say go off the grid, right? Sundays, I'm off the grid. I use that time to speak with people, but I don't do work with anybody from my team. It's my time, and you know, it's communicated well, and people know that that's you know, it's a weekend day for me. It's the beginning of a new week, and um, again, what applies to me may not apply to all, and I want to be respectful of that. But managing those expectations with your team and communicating that with your team is the most that you can ask for. I would say there's a lot, especially within fintech and crypto. There are a lot of companies that certainly are asking 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. If that's within your wheelhouse and something that excites you and motivates you, by all means. It may not cost you the same amount of spoons it costs me, but I found myself in a reciprocal cycle of starting new roles, taking on too much, trying to be, you know, the producer, the manager, everything. And it leads to that churn and burnout, especially for those that are in managerial positions. Just watching out for these identifiers, these red flags from those within your team who are looking for upward mobility. Make sure that they're taking the steps also. You have, for those that are in a managerial position, you have an opportunity to instill the change that you want to see in your team while bringing them up, making sure that they're also taking care of themselves and theirs as well. Quick cheat on this is keep your calendar up to date. Don't get surprised by anything. I like to close my day with a daily wrap up. So emails that are not fire drills during the day. I go through each email, I go through every Discord, go through every Slack, go through every production Asana task, and close out the day so that I've got a clean desk for tomorrow. And so speaking about Asana or Notion or whatever project management tools you use, if the management tools from your team don't work with your brain or yourself, you know, find those that do and then implement them. May not be something that you can implement team-wide or company-wide, but there are plenty of options to integrate these so that you can find something that does for you. So we'll move ahead here. That's kind of all, but I did want to get into some community resources with Will. I'll let you talk about what you've got planned weekly.
Well, thank you so much, man. Listen, y'all. First of all, I want to thank you, Jeff, for everything that you just spoke on, because I was saying it in the private chat. I talk about it. We all need to take better care of ourselves, myself included. It's not generally a priority that I think many humans fall short on. And it's something that I think we need to prioritize because, look, we're trying to be happy, right? Pursuit of happiness is it's like safety and food and happiness that we need as an animal. So really, really grateful, Jeff, for everything you just said. And yeah, if anybody wants to continue this conversation past this point, we do a lot of community conversation around mental health on Twitter Spaces. So I'm at Living with Will. We do Health, Wealth, and Will on Mondays with Rug Radio, which is a Web3 media company. DAO Talks with the amazing Proof of Good that Jeff and I are so grateful to be part of and in coalition for. We talk about DAOs and how our DAO, Proof of Good, is trying to financially incentivize people doing good for the world. And part of doing good for the world is good for your mental health. You know, they often say, and I can agree, that you get more from volunteering, you get more from giving back than the person that you gave to. It feels good to give. So definitely encourage you all to join and learn more about DAOs and Proof of Good DAO as well. We do community mental health rooms with a Web3 specific mental health group called Astromojis on Wednesdays. Mondays and Wednesdays is 1 p.m. Pacific, by the way. And DAO Talks is 7 p.m. Pacific. I'm so sorry. I forgot about times. But basically, we just try to encourage people to have these conversations. And Astromojis is focused on community mental wellness. They are a group of psychiatrists, artists, and just community organizers who wanted to bring Web3, some mental health and mental health awareness, bring it into the metaverse. And so anybody who's participating in those worlds, definitely encourage you to check them out. And then if you just want to, you know, hang out and be around some friends, we have nerd friends, nerd friends talking, nerds with friends. I like that. That's play on it, but that's with Slim Mo Bob, who's a community member, and myself, which we're going to be doing it more often, but right now it is on Fridays. I think we'll have it on Mondays and Wednesdays soon. And finally, happy hour with Leyline. I'll let you talk about this a little bit, but really encourage you all to jump in. It's a great time.
Thank you. Yeah. And apologies for the not nerds friends talking, but it's again, everything that Will is doing for those in the audience is such a great dedication to those navigating mental health in the space in Web3 and dev engineering, in tech, in fintech and crypto. And it's a really accessible space, especially utilizing kind of Web3 or at least Twitter spaces where there's a whole community of people that you're not alone. There are people that are navigating this alongside you. I would highly encourage everybody, go follow Living with Will on Twitter, follow his Twitter spaces. And I find them, you know, I came originally due to working with Will at Proof of Good for these spaces, and quickly found that there is zero spoon activity for me. They give me closure on issues. They give me peace and some respite from the rest of the day with people that, you know, speak my language. So I just want to say you're doing phenomenal work, and please check these out at Living with Will. One other thing I did just want to go through really quick, some other project resources for those that are doing good in industry. Obviously, Proof of Good is a decentralized autonomous organization that Will and I are both participating in. Recently became co-owners. There's still space for other co-owners for those that want to do good. And we're navigating the space to make impact possible, making philanthropy provable and profitable within Web3. So we're working with a number of projects all across the globe, saving rice farmers from having their home rug swept out of them in Asia Pacific, working with at-risk youth through NBJC in Southern California for LGBTQIA plus and trans youth. And Will has spearheaded that project. Astromojis, you know, not everybody, especially those potentially in America, have access to affordable healthcare or healthcare at all. And Astromojis is doing phenomenal work with psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists to bring accessible healthcare to those in need in Web3. So they'll be having a mental health convention sometime I believe in March, possibly April. We'll be doing an impact event to kick off our partnership as well, alongside Astromojis and Habit Nest. If you haven't heard of or gotten in touch or know about Habit Nest, please check them out. It's really a dovetail to this entire presentation, insofar as their app is, in their Web3 presence, is entirely based around setting healthy habits for yourself and, you know, establishing some level of accountability for yourself, or to your future self. Just phenomenal work, but, you know, as Mr. Rogers used to say, look for the helpers. They're out there. And for those that may not have access to the healthcare needed for them, there are some fantastic resources that are emerging in this Web3 environment. So that's all I had planned for you. If there are specific questions and answers from the audience, we'd love to field them. With regards to time, I know that we're kind of getting close because we're going to be turning this back over to GeekBeacon and letting them.
You're the last one of the night, so
Yeah.
we can go for a while if you want.
Thank you, Jeff and Will. That was really great. And we do have quite a few questions actually on this topic that we can get into here. If you're ready
Yeah, I've heard proof of stake. I have never heard of proof of good. I do want to, if you can, for my own personal reference before Dom takes it away, can you, one of the things that your motto was, altruism provable and profitable by evolving proof of good protocol. Is there a way, because we're a lot of techies in our group, is there a way that you could maybe give us your little elevator pitch for that? A little bit more about proof of good and what differentiates it from, that side.
Sure.
Proof of stake.
Will, do you want to take that one? You've been in East Denver pitching us all week.
I'll say this. We have a slogan that I hope you all enjoy, which is "Do good, get paid." We try to keep it simple, but basically just helping the world in any way we want to make that profitable. So basically creating an infrastructure around incentivizing that. So whether that's working with nonprofit organizations, working with people who are volunteering their time, donating their blood, whatever that is. And then, giving them a reward through the DAO token, through our POG packs, and creating a new model that, because I think we all have met people who donate their lives essentially to bettering the world, and oftentimes are not rewarded for it. Some of the most amazing humans I've ever met work minimum wage jobs, and so being able to give those people a little bit easier of a time, that's what excites me most about Proof of Good. And Jeff, I'll let you add on to that a little bit. I'm more on the I think the grand scheme, it could change the world, but I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, Will's out here in these streets. He's getting the work done. I say that lovingly. Will establishes a number of partnerships within the mental health space for Proof of Good. What we're doing with Proof of Good is establishing the Proof of Good protocol, where verifiable and provable good acts are paid in good points to those that are acting upon them. So whether that's helping your neighbor across the street or carrying groceries, like we have validators that validate your Proof of Good and then pay those out in good points, which currently are redeemable for NFTs on the blockchain, rare partnerships, perks, as well as we're working towards the direct payment option. But again, while we have partnered with a number of oracles, we're bringing on 24 oracles currently. Next step 1,000, and these are charities, philanthropic and social organizations that directly derive benefit, whether that's monetary, whether that's support, whether that is in the crypto space, NFT style promotion, to actually make an impact. So while we've got a number of star projects, we've donated over 300,000 hours of computer CPU usage to mapping cancer markers, unfolding proteins. That's just our team out of the 2 million hours or so that have been donated, 300,000 just from ours, as well as working with, currently, as I mentioned, the MBJC in Southern California for LGBTQIA+ and trans at-risk youth, providing them resources to make sure that, the kids are going to be all right. And working with, some school districts in South Africa that can't afford books, making sure that the kids can learn. And we're looking for new oracles. We're looking for those that are interested in co-owning the DAO with us. I believe as of today, the DAO is 70% full, but there's pathways to become a co-owner yourself, or a member if you prefer. But you can't buy an ownership into the DAO. There are 4 pathways to do so, and the easiest is to donate, to attend some meetings, collect some POAPs, collect 5, and then go to Proof of Good DAO, collect your Proof of Good pack, which is a backpack that will be usable in the metaverse to store other badges. So it's going to be gamified along with a lot of other exciting things that
It's
we
a
have.
lot to unpack. That is a lot to unpack. I want to touch on this because I think that for my own, not to toot my own horn, but somebody who founded a decentralized gaming platform business, one of the things I realized is that people have a lot of weird conceptions about what people in the crypto space are all about, and then you get lumped into a specific category. So I find that oftentimes you end up going like, oh no, but we're like the good ones, so I think it's really important to have institutions in place like Proof of Good, and I also noticed something that was really cool, and I wanted to ask you about this because there's a lot of finance people and there's a lot of crypto people, and they're kind of like, I've been to conferences myself, and they're like kind of linked in a way. why do you think that the crypto space became more mentally healthy because a lot of them came from the toxicity of the finance area? Because like when I entered into the crypto space, I was like bracing myself, and then I saw, we're all gonna make it, good morning guys, and I was just like, what is this all about, so like how do you think that happened, and what is your take on that?
I think Will, you have
Yeah,
experience
like it's
working.
totally different from the toxicity of finance.
No question. And as someone who came from traditional entertainment before this, equally toxic work environment traditionally, but I totally agree. I mean, I think part of it is that there's a creation of self-sovereignty that hasn't existed before, where individuals are able to become financially free off of their own work and their own ideas and sharing in community in a way that these institutions of the past didn't allow. Which is why I love DAOs, because I see fundamental flaws with hierarchical structures where if we created more of a collective leadership model, we could see real lasting change. So I think that's part of the reason why, at least in my eyes, it's just people are given a new opportunity for life, whether that's a financial opportunity or just a visionary, technological, or inspirational perspective. We get to push boundaries. And I think all of us are in this because we all like to, screw some things up. I don't know if I'm supposed to be swearing or not, so I was careful not to say it the way I want.
Yeah, no, I get it. I wanted to touch on the crypto side of things because I think that's really important, and the culture around that. And Dom, you can take away everything else. We had a document of all the questions, and I kind of went in there and I was like, so yeah,
Yeah.
feel free.
Okay, so we do have like she was saying, a lot of
Audience
questions.
questions.
This one comes from Sir Squirrely, and they ask, is it possible to recharge spoons?
Oh, that's interesting. I would say in traditional spoon theory, the only way to regenerate spoons would be through rest. You're saying, can we recharge spoons? I think however you find what works for you to define the theory in your own terms. If you've got, let's say, that you need to spend 3 spoons on work alone today, but that, well, I really like having to be part of the conversation on Twitter, which is part of my purview on my desk. You can recharge some of those spoons. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
All right.
I think on top of just rest, like I'll just very briefly, because I know we got a lot of questions. Like there are certain activities I think that do recharge us. So I can't speak to the specifics of the person who asked the question, but I'm sure if you're listening still, that there are probably some things in your life that you do that get you excited about life again. And I don't really, for me, sometimes that's anime. Like I'll watch it and it doesn't take a spoon at all. I'm like taking notes because I like themes, So just finding those things in your life that don't really feel like a task in any way, I think that would be my recharging activity.
Or for instance, some of the work that crosses my desk is largely data entry, right? But it's not like it's just a time-consuming task. It's not necessarily requiring a lot of mental bandwidth on my part, and being able to do that and throw something on the TV or listen to a podcast or something while I'm doing that, I'm not spending spoons the same way that I would be if I was just slogging through it individually. But really just defining and codifying what works for you, I think, is a really empowering tool. Hopefully that answers your question or helps.
All right, so this next one it's from Nixie, actually. And you're asking, why do you think the grind and crunch mentality is so popular in our culture? And can you think of other cultures that benefit as a society from mindfulness and stillness?
Well, mindfulness and
Very
stillness are
meta.
it. Mindfulness and stillness, that's like I'm working towards that. So I'm trying to get our society on that wave. I need some calm in my life. That I love that question.
There's a
Jo-
big group. There's a big group. Since this is my question, I feel like I can add some context. There's a big group like differential between like the old community and then the younger generation coming in. So yeah,
Jeff, do you want to start first?
As it pertains to like specific cultures or societies that have a mindfulness and stillness, I mean, I would move to Thailand again tomorrow if I could. It's what the land of smiles. It's
yeah. My penrai is like, don't worry about it. My penrai, right? You remember that?
the first time I came there, the first tuk tuk that I said, like, oh, it's your first time here. Well, welcome. And they said, next time you come, we'll say welcome back home. It's just unbelievable. But I mean, I was there for a couple of weeks, a few weeks or so. And even, during the time that I was there on vacation and, had some opportunities to go meet some business partners while I was there, even vacation can be very, very stressful depending on who you're traveling with, or what your plans are. And just a little insight nobody asked for. And, but being able to like walk from where I was staying to a temple each morning and both respect the culture, but also try to immerse myself in it in a way that wasn't imposing or appropriating, but to sit in quiet and to try to fill some moments for myself. I found that very rewarding. I found the culture there to be focused on inward learning and wisdom a lot more than maybe we find in the West.
And the timeline's the Thai time, right? No regard to different times that are occurring on
Thailand.
the.
You guys are making me jealous as hell right now.
Oh, you gotta go! Absolutely.
I would say for the crunch and grind part of the question, I would say just as far as it goes, and like I'm in the U.S. I don't know where everyone is tuning in, but at least in our culture, I think this hyper capitalist focused society we live in, because the structure of the society puts emphasis on profit over people, we do as well as participants in that society. And that's why I got so excited by the question, because I'm trying to move away from that. My childhood was so dominated by this need to make money. Everything that I was doing, I was working jobs I didn't really want to because I needed to make money. I was doing all these things for this like paper, which is originally a tree, which I read. So it's like that. It's a fine line because we have to work, and it's fulfilling to work, but then also kind of breathing and like appreciating the moment. I think it's that tightrope balance that we need to have for like a fulfilling life.
Dom and I actually, with our creator panel that I covered a little bit before you, talked about how when we initially started YouTube, we were making videos with zero intention of a hustle and grind, And so then when we realized that it was like, oh, we can make money at this, that was exactly the feeling that I would love everyone to have. But we're not always in this position where we have to work, we have to get up, and we have to so it'd be great. And it seems like with what you're doing, like that's very similar to kind of what you guys have going on, is do the thing that lights you up, and then find a way for the income to flow.
Well, then
and
also,
everybody
though,
wins. Yeah.
When you introduce that thought of, oh, I can make money doing this into the equation, it really does kind of get in the way of like that just subtracts like many spoons right there. Like instantly, you know what I mean? Like once you realize, even though it's something you love, you're going to like continuously do this, and you're going to use your own like internal resources way more than you were before, just because you have that little thought now, like the more I hustle, the bigger I build this, the better it becomes. And while you're doing like kind of a selfish thing to make yourself feel good to do what you love, it can be very taxing over time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. So we have another question here from Sir Squirrely, and they ask, what is the 996 schedule?
Do you guys know that?
996 is a sprint schedule that I've seen, particularly in Asia Pacific, but companies based in the Asia Pacific, especially amongst developers and engineering teams. But 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week for the duration of the sprint. Sometimes that could be as long as 6 months, but you see, I mean, in my experience, you see people that churn out very, very quickly with that, especially if they're not in a managerial position. It's hard to.
I didn't
It's
know
hard.
it was 6 days a week. Like, what happened to at least getting weekends and like bank holidays or whatever?
Yeah, I.
Wow, did you work that before?
No, I was never held to that, but by proxy of working internationally or with international teams, I should say, it was, you'd start at, 6, 7 a.m. with Europe, and then you'd close out the day at 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. with Asia Pacific. And it's too much. It's a,
Yeah.
it's a day, burn yourself out. Or
You were mentioning in your talk about an employee at another company providing work at like 18 different hours, and I was just like, relatable.
Yeah, that's intense.
Especially if you work for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it goes just back to the whole thing, like working for yourself, you're always bound to overdo it at some point, right? Like, because it's just your own thing. But in terms of that, it kind of relates to the next question we have from Apocalypse Pony, which asks, do you have any suggestions for those whose circumstances don't allow for the regenerative spoon activities or much rest?
Wow. They're stuck.
I appreciate this question a lot. Sorry, I don't know if my computer's bugging. Jeff, did you want to jump in, or did I just cut you off?
No, you're great,
Okay.
sir.
Go. Really appreciate this question. First of all, to whoever wrote it, I completely understand where you're coming from. I don't know you, and I don't know the reasons, but I understand the words. It feels that way, right? Like it doesn't, like wherever you are in life, it feels really difficult sometimes to be like, I can take that time. But I would ask that you start with like 1 minute a day, just 1 minute. If it's 1 minute to work out, if it's 1 minute to listen to music, if it's 1 minute to read a book you like, if it's 1 minute to, eat some food that you really like, whatever that 1 minute is, I want to encourage you to take that so that you can start seeing that there is time every day for those regenerative activities. It just doesn't feel that way because we're overburdened with all the obstacles of life, all the things on our mind, from survival to social obligations, like everything that's happening in life. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, I could just sit here for a second and breathe. Do me that favor, whoever you are, just 1 minute tomorrow, and I hope that you run with it, because I hear you, yo. I know how it feels.
That same person actually had kind of a follow-up to that. They say, something that I struggle with personally is setting boundaries for getting or preserving my spoons. Is there a good way to communicate with others what I need?
That's like huge, amazing follow-up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would just say, and Jeff, I'll let you take it from here, but just clearly expressing those boundaries. And it's something I'm really working on myself right now. I rarely say no to people. I try to really be open to everything, but you have to, because like Jeff was saying so poignantly throughout, your work, your relationships, everything in your life will suffer if you aren't able to express those things. So I would say just, as kindly as possible. Let's say like somebody's talking to you, you don't want to be talked to right now. Just be like, hey, I'm so sorry. Can I have like 2 minutes? Or like, I'm having a bad day. Like, I need a second. But Jeff, I'll let you take it from there. I really appreciate your questions. Those are really, really thoughtful questions.
Yeah, I would just reiterate that it's not an easy question to answer, is it? Right. And I have found myself in the unfortunate spot of not taking the steps necessary to realize that I wasn't taking care of myself, and particularly with OCD, like I couldn't get out of the apartment to be on time for meetings. I would be, rechecking the oven, rechecking, all these different rituals that were not, helping. And I needed to carve out some time for myself. I would say, evaluating whether or not the position is for you, taking a hard look at whether this makes you happy or whether this is just paying the bills, and whether there are other opportunities out there. However, if this is a position that is near and dear to your heart and something that, you want to stick with, then it really is, comes down to identifying what your needs are for yourself. And your mileage may vary. I'm just speaking from my experience. Identifying what those are for yourself, and then identifying what is possible, what is maybe possible, and what's not possible, and then coming to a decision. If we can continue, and what can I move around to make space for myself? But communicating that with your manager and doing regular or your team, as circumstances change, people have to have lives, right? Or if people are watching that new Apple TV show Severance, we're not there. So, anyways, we're, being able to communicate that with your team, or effectively with a boss, or your manager or supervisor, that these are things that I need to do my job to the best of my capacity, is a really empowering thing, because depending upon the relationship with your team, it will garner respect from those that you say, I want to do my best, but this is what I need to do my best. I believe these are the steps that I need from team to be able to do my best. Can we meet each other there? Can we manage our own expectations so that I'm doing the best that I can do for the company, and the company is doing the best they can do for me?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'd like to add to everything, and I just thought of something that I use a lot when I was in the corporate world, and has been taught to me over and over again. Just like a really quick phrase that you could say that doesn't involve saying no, right? Because saying no is hard. I don't like to say no. So I take a page from the book of improv, right? Yes, and. So, hey, like you have that, I'm going to need you to work on a Saturday, or I'm going to need you to do, whatever. I need you to do this by this time. And you go, yes, I will absolutely do that. That's going to take some time out of this. Which would you like me to work on? So it's kind of like this. They have to choose kind of what their priority is. And it gives them, the boss, the choice of choosing. So yes, I will absolutely do, the pull request on the on GitHub, but that's going to take time from something else. So which one would you like me to do? I just, that ended up helping me so much. So I wanted to throw that out there as a
I do
tidbit.
that often to myself, actually. Like, I ask myself those questions. Like, when two things come up in the day, like maybe I have something planned for the day, like I'm like scheduled
Yeah.
out for this day, and then something comes up. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, which one is more important? If I only got half of one done,
Mm.
which one's going to matter more? And it's hard to do that with yourself, especially when you're working for yourself, because you just want to get everything done. I'm like, I have all the time in the world. I can do whatever I want. So much room for activities, and that's not really the
Yeah.
case, because I'm depleted by the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, or whatever. I'm just completely in the gutter as far as like my tasks go. But the next question here, this is asked kind of via Nixie and myself, is how do we know what level of task or energy quantifies like a spoon, and how do we know how much rest or personal time gives us another one? Because I was reading a little bit more into the spoon theory of, on how it originated and stuff, and like a task from one of the examples I saw could just be something as simple as taking a shower, while you, Jeff, you have like a whole workout is one spoon. So is that kind of a personal preference, or how does that work? How do you quantify the energy level into a spoon?
Yeah, for me personally, if it's something that I put off, that's going to cost me a spoon, right? Like, I like to play VR mini golf, right? That's not costing me a spoon. It's taking some personal time. It's not thinking about anything except for, the task at hand. If I'm looking at a budget and I know I've got to, anything that I'm kind of dreading, I know that that's going to be mentally exhausting for me, or physically exhausting for me. That's going to cost you a spoon. And, you don't have to have a 10 spoon day. Maybe you have a 100 spoon day, and just define, this activity takes 5 spoons. And so I need to take the steps after that activity to go outside for some fresh air or play with my cat or take the dog for a walk, but if it's something that you're dreading doing, probably is going to cost you a spoon to do it. And you're only going to be shooting yourself in the foot by continuing to delay and delay and delay. And by preparing your spoons in advance and say, okay, I know this has to be done. I'm going to grind it out. And then I'm going to have a bowl of ice cream for lunch, whatever. That's not part of the healthy
totally
diet
makes
part
sense too.
Yeah, but that's not part of the healthy diet part of the conversation that we had earlier. But just identifying, and this is not hard and fast. I mean, it took me 18 months to be able to leave my apartment within 30 minutes of me going out the door. Because I was worried about the oven being on or the door being unlocked. I used to walk to the subway and then walk all the way back saying, I wasn't sure. And so that was a lot of spoons just to leave the house. It took me 18 months to be able to leave the house within 5 minutes. And it seems really simple, but like there are tools, at least for OCD, that, you practice. And even the mental health work, it's exhausting. If you were somebody that is afflicted by mental health, you may not want to talk to your therapist, but it's something like, that this is good for you in the end. Maybe you don't make it every week, but your therapist wants you to show up. And how do I prepare myself for that spoon activity to make sure that I'm ready and bring my best self to serve myself in those situations? I'm not sure that exactly answered your question, but I hope it helps.
Yeah, no, and well, on that same note, so like obviously, like you're saying, if it's something that you're dreading or you're kind of like, it's something that you would rather put off, is what you're saying equals a spoon, right? And obviously those tasks take a lot of focus. So this next question from Sage on Discord actually kind of relates to that in a way. And they're asking if you have any advice for spoonies with ADHD for keeping a healthy sleep schedule, keeping the energy up, etc.
You are seen and you are respected and you are, and I'm here with you. I call us tangential thinkers. Because we're just thinking about a million different things and it's hard to keep focus. And I also struggle with sleep. So I would say just building some habits. This is what helps me personally. And I'm sure Jeff has some amazing thoughts as well on this. You got to set the environment for sleep. So with me, for example, one of the problems is that I'm working on proof of good DAO while I'm in a Twitter space. And I also am like trying to watch something on the screen, and like all that visual stimulation and all that mental stimulation, it makes it hard for me to sleep. So making sure that the lights are off, that I've had some water, winding down. I listen to like different motivational speakers or like, philosophical thought, just so that I can like kind of set my brain up to go into that mode of rest. But listen, some days it works and some days I'm up till 6. So Jeff, do you have anything you want to add to
that? I can't speak from the space of ADHD, but for OCD, it's intrusive thoughts, not tangential thoughts, but it's like vicious cycle. Your brain is wired to, have these thoughts recurring in an intrusive manner. I would say that, for me, what was helpful is going through like Jeffrey Schwartz's work with brain lock and identifying, relabeling, reattributing, refocusing, and revaluing these intrusive thoughts. Again, that was a lot of work that cost a lot of spoons to get to a point where I was able to do these identifying behaviors and kind of identify them as, this is just part of how my brain works, but it's not me. Which gave me power back in the equation. I would say, as it pertains to sleep, like your circadian rhythms generally, follow a cycle, right? So keeping or holding your circadian rhythms in high regard, trying to stick to that schedule, and then really just, warming up your bedtime ritual, right? So all the lights here, I'll turn to blue late at night. I can't get off. It seems to be the most recent thing is I can't get off Reddit while I'm lying in bed. I'll end up 2 hours just lying around in bed. And then, if you're also somebody that exercises, of course, if it tires you out, that's great. For me, it tires me out. Other people, it energizes them. So you may not be wanting to work out beforehand. But also, the thing that I'm working on right now is trying to, kind of keep a little bit more even keel. This might apply to those affected by bipolar, but really, minimizing these dopamine peak events and trying to find and establish healthy habits that give me a steady dopamine and serotonin need that hormonally that my body needs, rather than relying on drinking a bottle of wine or going out to a club. I don't go to clubs, but I'm just throwing it out there. And, but identifying the behaviors that you find help you wind down your day so that you don't have these racing thoughts to the extent that as possible. Like, oh, did I get to that email? Did I respond to this person on Slack? If you get in the habit of forming these bedtime rituals, you may find that, and again, your mileage may vary with ADHD. I can't speak to that specifically, but with OCD, this is something that I have found that help.
Yeah, and just one quick last to add on to what Jeff was saying, right? If, for example, you're like me and you're more of like a nocturnal person, I'm actually trying to move away from that right now and like reset my sleep cycle. But if your cycle is, a healthy amount of sleep, even if you're going to sleep at like 5 in the morning, if you're getting those 7-8 hours, it's okay. I know. I know that I'm not alone in this.
Oh yeah, I
So
agree.
Hey.
And you start to feel guilty that you're up until 5 in the morning, even though you're sleeping for 7 hours afterwards. You feel guilty because it's not the societal norm, right?
But it's
But you're
okay.
getting your stuff done. You're doing what
Yeah.
you need to do, and you're being healthy about it. But it's hard. Like, it's a mind trip to get past that guilt that you start getting. Like, oh, I'm going to bed when people are having breakfast.
Yep.
And it kind of throws you off a little bit.
I'm waking up 10 minutes before the bank closes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to get that bag.
Fortunately, y'all, like the beautiful thing is that we're moving into a society where these things are like culturally acceptable. We're not being like judged as much as we've all felt in the past, and we
true.
find community where we're all kind of like up at these crazy hours, especially with this wild pandemic we just went through. I think a lot of us found ourselves in that. So yeah, I just want to say to you both as well, to myself and to Sage, like you're not alone. You're seen. We got this. And as long as you're taking care of yourself, I saw one of the points too was about energy. So one of the things that Jeff was speaking on is like a healthy diet, right? And I'm not the right person to speak on this because I was literally eating sour candy as I'm talking. But like, if you're eating, and taking vitamins when you wake up and you're eating balanced meals throughout the day, your energy will stay up. But if you're eating unhealthy like myself, you're gonna feel tired all the time. So just bringing those healthy diets and healthy habits and setting those rituals will help us all. And there's nothing wrong with having ADHD or any of these things. Like I really want to say that I know we've been taught that these things are bad, but this is just who we are. And we're awesome. So if any of you are listening to this and you're like, feeling drained by these names and these concepts, you're amazing. I have ADHD and I think it's cool because I focus on 70,000 things. Sometimes it's frustrating, whatever.
I completely agree with that. I mean, like, I'm having this this presentation, the speakership graciously through GeekBeacon Fest and with Will, but I mean, I crash out. Sometimes I burn the candle at both ends. Sometimes I mess up my spoons and I'm out. I sleep 12, sometimes 18 hours, and it's I got to pay off that sleep debt. If you don't pay off that sleep debt, it's very hard to be yourself. And in addition to that, going back to your point, Will, like I wouldn't be the copywriter, the producer, the manager that I am without OCD benefiting me in some regard, right? But managing how it affects me and how it's deleterious versus how it's beneficial, this is kind of navigating the course, right? For some people, this might be something that's all the time. For others, it might be episodic. Finding your own path and then taking pride and ownership and to a certain extent accountability in it is really empowering. It's not something that happens overnight, but again, 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day, whatever you can find, you'll find that rewiring your brain for this to your own benefit doesn't happen overnight. It's not radical. It's incremental behavioral change typically, at least in my experience and from the research and lots of therapy that I've done.
I do personally have a question myself that hopefully will be helpful to other people too. What do you do if you find that maybe your partner is actually consuming some of your spoons, right? Like, so, because you know how that can happen. I mean, it tends to, they can like get more in the way of what you're trying to do, or actually using your spoons for stuff that they need to accomplish.
I have a vulnerability moment, but basically having ADHD and having such a high level of energy all the time, and just like being lit up by things can actually has actually drained a lot of significant others I've had in the past. Um, so I just want to say I wanted to answer that if you don't mind, but it would be being able to have really good lines of communication where boundaries are in place, very good boundaries like, hey, I need a minute. Like, I respect you on your squirreling out type deal, what you got going on, but I need to go veg out with like 0 people in a dark room and read a book, right? Like, and I hear that as an ADHD significant other, that helps me. I don't take as much offense by that. And then, also I love you and like hugs. So,
Yeah, I
but
think
this is
people,
about you too.
I think people do get concerned of like hurting feelings versus just being an active communicator. Like, there's nothing wrong with
Totally.
communicating, and people sometimes are afraid to do that because they're like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, you're not saying anything that's bad, really. You're just being an active communicator, which isn't
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing.
Same thing with that and at work as well, like hurting feelings, and then also, being seen as a lazy person or not
Yeah.
an effective worker.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's all about like being authentic. Oh, sorry, Jeff. Do you want to go? I can go after you.
No.
Okay,
You
bet, my
raised
bad.
hands.
Yeah, sorry, I try to be respectful, y'all. If I see someone start going, but so I saw somebody in the chat as well saying that speaking up about boundaries is one thing and actually doing it is difficult. And I love that they said that around the same time this question came.
Yeah.
It's as an ADHD partner as well, Nixie, I feel you. And it's tough because we're just being ourselves. It's just we're authentic, but it can be a lot for people, and we're very high energy, and it can be draining for them. And then the important thing is at the end of the day was what you said, right? It's I love you at the end of the day, and it's that if you are communicating this to someone that you respect, or if you're in a romantic relationship with them and that you love them, that's a two-way street. So if you have to communicate to them that something they're doing is adversely affecting you, it might not be that they mean to. And if they truly care about you, they will respond and resonate and feel you. And if they lash out and attack you, that might be a red flag. Like if you communicate to a boss or to a partner that a communication method is not working for you and they attack you for it, that's a good sign that there's a boundaries problem there, and that goes beyond communication. But a healthy relationship is one in which I believe you can have these conversations, and if you need to say, I in no way say this to hurt you. It's like, this is about me, and make sure they know that, because my partner has to tell me often, Will, I love you, but you're a lot. Like I need a second. Just like chill, dude, chill out. And I'm like, I love you. I'm sorry. So it's tough, y'all. It is tough, but if there's respect and love, it goes a long way. So trust that it's there, and say how you feel. Jeff, did you want to add my fault, yo?
No, that was brilliant. My previous partner had ADHD as well, and it was difficult for me with OCD to necessarily match their level, their energy level sometimes. And sometimes like a real hot conversation would come in and be like, listen, I'm pretty low right now, and I want to have this conversation with you, but I want to give you my best self for it. Can we do this in an hour, or can we do this tomorrow morning? But you got to show up for that, right? You can't just put this off, right? That was something that
Can somebody clip that? That was I feel like that needs to be, forever echoed into the history of time. Just that one little soundbite. I want to have this conversation with you. But
I mean,
yeah,
it's
can we?
communication, because and I mean, we're bordering on like relational dialogue. But one thing, if you were, I can say, if you're with a partner that may have be afflicted by mental health issues, not fixing their problems, just listening, just saying, "Oh, that sucks," is sometimes so much better than saying, "Well, why don't you do this? I would do this instead. Why don't have you tried this? Have you talked to this person?"
That's
Just
overwhelming.
I'm
yeah.
that person. I feel attacked. I'm always trying to fix everything.
I think it can be reined back into saying, like, really understand that if you're with them, what you said to your point, Will, is that, they're well intentioned and, they love you, and everything that they would be saying ideally is coming from a good place. So, if they do say you're a lot, hopefully the communication will figure its way out in a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle there. But we do have more questions. I don't know if you guys are you willing to be here for it, because Dom actually has to go. I wanted to give him a farewell and a send off and a thank you. Do you guys have a little bit more time for more questions, or?
More.
Okay, let's do this thing. Okay. Thank you so much for being a part of our mission here at the GeekBeacon Fest. It is a little bit of a uncharacteristic send-off for you, Dom, but please, everybody, head
That's great.
over. Where can we find you? Where do you want to be found? Because we have you on YouTube everywhere.
In a dark
where we won't
closet
burn you
somewhere.
out. Where we won't burn you out. Yeah.
I can be found in a dark closet where nobody can contact me.
Oh, that's my comfort.
I mean, I'm mainly youtube.com/Dom. And that's like
and
my
your
main
and your mental health
outlet.
podcast
Yeah,
that
I
I
do
keep
have
trying to get you to plug.
I do have a podcast that I just started maybe a month ago. It's not really as consistent as I like it to be, but I really only also do it when I feel like I have the capacity to do so. And it's called Technologically Depressed. And so it's just a podcast where we celebrate the bad things and the good things about mental health. And it's available on all podcast platforms as well as YouTube. So it's kind of just me deep diving into a lot of the stuff that people in our community aren't really talking about in terms of, the things that we deal with: anxiety, depression, burnout, a lot of things like that, and just the stuff and the battles. And a lot of it's based on examples from the battles that I've personally been through in this industry doing that kind of stuff. So like I said, it's kind of a new podcast, but yeah, it's Technologically Depressed, and it's on all podcast platforms.
Beautiful. I just realized I wrote technologically depressed, Dom technologically depressed. I'm like, that's probably not the best thing to put over the stream. Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And I cannot wait to be one of your guests if you decide that you'd like to have guests on that podcast.
Of course.
Thank you so
Definitely.
very much.
Yeah.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
I was like, I'm keeping you. Oh, thank you, Dom. See, the chat says thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Alrighty. Yeah, we have people behind the scenes running all the things, hitting all the switches.
Yeah, they're killing it right now. Can we
Yeah.
get some, I don't know if there's like hundreds in the chat like Twitter, but
Hundreds in the chat.
I'll give like one of these to the chat.
Yeah, we're streaming on all platforms. Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because you guys I wrote some notes. I did something where I wanted to keep my ADHD wanted to have your slides in my memory, but because of my executive functioning problem, because ADHD, I needed to copy and paste it. So I was basically putting it in our team document. So they were trying to type and it was just like your slide. So could you talk a little bit about what you're doing for all the stuff you're doing with community, Will? Because it's intense. Like, obviously, I hope it gives you spoons to be with the community. It seems like it does. Because Jeff mentioned, like, sometimes depending on what type of personality you have, it could be taking from it. So, yeah.
So I think the word Jeff used was an ambivert, which I think I'm saying it correctly, which is both an extrovert and an introvert, because those rooms are both recharging and draining for me. I'll be recharged in the moment, and then at the end of it, I'm just completely depleted. But it's a positive experience because I love people. I like being able to help. I like being able to be of service. But then afterwards, I retreat into the cave with Dom. So it's a double-edged sword that I'm so grateful for. But yeah, it's just community building, and I would really encourage everyone in here who is interested, come join us on Twitter Spaces. It's like these amazing group calls where we just talk about. And I was talking about Web3, but I encourage everyone, even if you're not into crypto or Web3 or DeFi or blockchain, whatever, if you like conversations, if you like to, express yourself and build and find new community and make new friends, it's a really good time. And we, we have some really hard conversations in some of those rooms, but we also make lifelong friends. I've met people from those spaces in person, and they feel like old family, or like I knew them in a past life. It's crazy. So it's a really, I'm grateful about it. It's awesome. But yeah, super, definitely a spoon. I gotta put a spoon or two on my schedule for the Twitter Spaces, because
Twitter Spaces.
yeah, it's like
everybody has access to that now, right? It's not just special people. And what is that? So I joined my first Twitter space the other day, and it was just like, I didn't realize I had to allow other people to talk. So I was just like, so, hey, everyone. I just figured everyone was going to be able to talk, but I apparently had to unmute them. So I guess that checks out. So is there like a link for this Twitter space? This is me confessing. I'm not up to speed with this.
Don't worry at all. So my Twitter handle is @livingwithwill, and whenever I have a room on my Twitter page will be a scheduled room.
Okay.
Just click on to set a reminder, or they can click to start listening if it's happening live. And then for, if you want to explore different spaces, there's now a button on Twitter that just shows you a mess of different rooms. But
that's what I found.
Yeah. There's like a whole way of just different universes you can stop into, and I encourage people to check them out, because it's like if Reddit was a voice chat. And I know that sounds like a little horrifying in the same way, like the conversations that could be happening, but some of them are in the same way that Reddit is, in the same way that Twitch and YouTube are. There is this beautiful community that is growing, and it's very new. I think Twitter Spaces are like 6 months old, if that. So would love to see you all in there. And yeah, we talk about all kinds of stuff. So
I mean, this is just to put a button on that. It's, Will, you've really introduced me into the power of these Twitter Spaces by hosting safe spaces for those within the mental health community. And I see Jens, Twitter makes me nervous also, but what I have seen emerge throughout this is, instead of going to like, a meeting where you are IRL representing yourself, having the luxury of, joining this with your Twitter avatar or your Web3 avatar or whatever that looks like, but your online persona with this veil of anonymity or pseudonymity, really, compels people to seem to share things that are quite vulnerable, that leads towards, there's been breakthrough moment events. A lot of the spaces that Will is hosting are with medical doctors or psychiatrists themselves that speak on these from their vast experience and accreditation. And just, it's providing somebody the benefits of the internet in a way that mental health has not yet been able to treat in a practical IRL type manner. And it's profound. The impact is profound, and Will is on the first lines of that. If you haven't joined his room, I highly compel you to do so. I join them sometimes from proof of good, just to show up and say, hey, we're here. And then sometimes just on my own, it's like, okay, I'm off work. I just want to, this is something I can do on the couch and listen to other people, or speak myself. Probably speak too much, but at least a 10.
Everything you say is amazing, dude. You can talk.
I agree.
Whatever you want. Yeah, you're killing it.
I agree. I think it's worthwhile to also say to the audience is that, kind of touching on what you guys mentioned before, which is it's okay if, say you're neurodiverse or you feel anxious, and maybe you're at the stage where you don't exactly even know what it is yet, right? Like you just feel off, maybe you feel depressed and things like that. You don't have to, you don't have to know. Okay, that's all right. You don't have to feel like I can identify as having ADHD. You can be anywhere on the spectrum from being diagnosed. That's something that we wanted to do with Squirrel Army, is just, if you want to talk about anything at any time, and I'm getting the same vibe from what you're doing with your projects, and I really appreciate that. I do want to ask a little bit about living Living with Will, I wanted to know like what inspired you guys to get on the journey that you are today, if you don't mind. Usually you kind of talk about that first, but this is mental health, so it's not something you just like unpack right away. Like, hey, so, for me, I had ADHD for most of my semi-functioning, mostly non-functioning adult and child life, but I was diagnosed but not treated and didn't really know much about it. At the time, it wasn't something that you were like, woo, I have ADHD. There weren't songs about it. It wasn't a thing. So I decided to come up with Squirrel Army to kind of allow people to have a platform to be able to kind of stumble into their own little journey. That's why, squirrels are stronger together. They're really wily. They get stuff done, man. And they handle all sorts of puzzles, and they're not perfect, and they're kind of squirrely. They're kind of all over the place. So, what about you, Jeff? So I'll ask you first, since living with Will is kind of like a teaser text. What about you for your journey?
My journey's been with mental health since I was 10, when OCD really kind of kicked in, and I have been fortunate in that it had been episodic. 2 years at a clip, off for 4 years, 2 years back. I'm 36 now, and I really started developing the most serious OCD symptoms that I've had 7 years ago when I was 29. A lot of which had to do with working in finance and working with crypto and not taking care of myself the way that I should have been. And I don't know if it'll ever go away. My hormones are changing within my body. I'm taking the steps necessary now. However, just having a lot of these practices in place and, speaking with, it made me feel like a real New Yorker when I got my very own New York City therapist. Right. But even that, that and a psychiatrist, it took me years to find a therapist that didn't dismiss me, to go to, how embarrassing it was to go to an OCD specialist who had room for new patients and then said, I can't take you. It made me feel like, oh my God, you're so screwed up, I can't help you. And I'm the specialist. And it was like, it was debilitating. Probably just a bad doctor. Maybe they had a bad day themselves. Who knows? But navigating that space and kind of finding community within, it's, I have never found it to be as prolific and out in the open as I have within the Web3 space. The conversations that are happening within Web3. I know that there was some criticism in the comments about whether Web3 is a hoax or not. I think once we see some emergence of some of the technologies that allow individuals to participate in the conversation without having to dox themselves, such as available through decentralized identification projects, and kind of establishing yourself as somebody who's out for good, and not a bad actor.
Right.
That can be incredibly empowering, and finding those communities has never been easier. At least is from my experience within the crypto and fintech space. For somebody who might be searching for PR within a project, it's not enough to have breaking, bleeding edge technology. Everybody and their brother has breaking and bleeding edge technology. It's never going to break through the noisy news cycle. And one way to do that is making it more palatable for companies is to take the philanthropic arm. Once that philanthropic arm is provable and profitable for individuals, it's very hard to turn that away, right? People go out to the park to play Pokemon to catch, a Pokemon, I should say. I haven't played Pokemon Go in a couple of years, but there's a thousand other games that get people out to the park, and they go out there, collect a Pokemon, and they spend the day out in the park. If you can do that, set an initiative to clean the park and get paid $300 to do it in the process, making this philanthropy provable and profitable, there's no reason. And unfortunately, that's probably not going to curtail the for-profit businesses until they see that there's an overwhelming critical mass for the need to do so, or a lack of support in their for-profit business without these meaningful and impactful for-profit arms that are not just buying carbon taxes, that are not just donating to monies to philanthropies that take 40 to 60% of the monies in to monies out. It's our conversation to have, and this is the time to have it. As it pertains to mental health, there are more resources available now, where the government probably isn't providing them to many individuals, myself included. And this is an outlet. I get to speak to doctors through these Twitter spaces who are happy to talk to me on my own time, who are happy to refer to other doctors that might be able to work on a pay scale with me, where the government or my state doesn't provide that for me. And that's impactful.
I love that.
I used to do this, but then people told me it looked like I was a praying mantis snapping. So they said, please stop.
I love
that you were a praying mantis.
praying
Well, that's like what they do in theater, right?
Yeah, but
I hear you. Like, I don't want to be so intrusive as to clap. No, I feel like if there was ever a proverbial mic drop about the bad actors that enter the space and make it problematic for everybody else, and the good guys that are, absolutely trying to break through, like you guys and Proof of Good, that was it, Jeff. That was it. All right. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Will? I just want to make sure everyone knows where to find you, because I don't even know for overtime how much overtime we are. Thank you, audience. 50 of you across all of the social networks we stream this on. We did all the things.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who's with us still. Like we've been rocking out, and we're grateful to you. So I'll keep it brief. My mental health kind of career, well, I guess my life with mental health kind of started when I was a child being diagnosed with things like ADD and ADHD and being prescribed medicine that really wasn't working for me. I was a child and I had to, make it clear to my folks. I was like, this is not making me feel right. This is creating, trauma for me, really. And so I asked them to not take it. And that's not to say that people shouldn't take medicine if it helps them. I just would recommend that they not take it if they don't need it, because that was my so one of the things that, my bad. Sorry, I had somebody in the room playing something. I'd be like, yo. But all this being said, my kind of my world with ADD and ADHD began as a child, and it took many years for me to kind of come to terms with the fact that I was very comfortable with dealing with it. And that's why I also encourage people, you don't have to take medicine unless you really need it. I felt that I could function. And when I was going through school and I was in social justice and community organizing, and I got, to working at the Senate, that's why it became my issue area, because I saw that there were people like me who couldn't function and weren't able to get the medicine they needed, right? Jeff was talking about this lack of accessibility. It's not right, and it leads to homelessness for some people. And I knew I needed to be a part of that conversation. I work with the Department of Mental Health in California and trying to make sure we were creating initiatives in the state of California, in the city of LA, that really helped people that were dealing with these issues and were not able to get the proper care that they required. And unfortunately, our government system is flawed. And I was very much jaded by the fact that the things and the initiatives that I was trying to achieve and accomplish were falling on deaf ears in a political system that has its flaws. So I decided that I would go and try and make change on my own, use my own voice, and hold space. And that's where Living with Will kind of originated. My sister is the icon who came up with the name. I like the double entendre, but it was just a podcast where first I was speaking about institutional and systemic oppression as it relates to health. I'm a strong believer in the fact that if we don't address systems of oppression and harm, we can't fully be happy, because if people are suffering, then we also suffer. And so just being an advocate for those things, it made my life better. And I encourage others to do the same. It also became draining to talk about it all the time. I found that I was doing the opposite effect. I was like making myself miserable just talking about all these problems. And so I turned it into an interview series where I would interview people pursuing purpose to help inspire the audience to do the same. And in that way, I could help them find happiness. And if they were happy, then they would become a part of creating change. And then I could be happy and I could be a part of change. And it would be this whole ecosystem where we're all just enjoying our lives and building community and being happy. And that was like the ethos of Living with Will, is people pursuing purpose. And
that's
here we are.
amazing. And if you guys watching haven't gotten a chance to watch the Save a Spoon setting healthy boundaries in fintech, I also just want to say it doesn't just apply to fintech. As I was listening, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And it really just, it doesn't, the spoon deficit is pervasive in any area. And I just want to say, to your point, well, it is like Gandhi said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And it's just so exciting to see what you guys are doing with Proof of Good. And I just cannot wait to see what comes out next. And I'm just so grateful that you held the like you said, held the space for as long as you did. We went really over time. I had a calculated error. We've been doing this for a while. Our spoons we're in negative spoons space. Please help. But yeah, so absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody behind the scenes that helped pull the strings to make this happen. And I'm going to kick off the end of the conference, and maybe we'll see you in Discord if we haven't face planted. You two are always welcome in our Discord. And I think you guys have Discord too for Proof of Good.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Nobody uses Telegram anymore for this stuff, right?
Yes.
Or do you have that too?
No. Just Discord for now. Too many things.
Just Discord. Proof of Good. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you. You're amazing. You're incredible.
Step. Awesome. Alrighty. Oh my goodness, as everything has locked in my computer and I can't get any messages from my team, I just wanted to say two things. Sorry and also not sorry for having that go over time, because that was epic. I do want to apologize to the team who has been very patiently waiting. They have worked so incredibly hard. I would love for everyone in the chat to just say thank you so much to our team. For what you don't know, basically, it's not just me anymore speaking to you on my Nixie channels. This has become an absolute global world building event with GeekBeacon. I could not have done it with any. I could not have imagined it going this way. It was just a very well executed conference. And to that being said, I do need to check in, but my computer is mostly frozen, so that's fun. Because I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to join our Discord and enter I don't know what's going on, but only Restream is working for me, so I can't see anything. Yeah, I don't know why, but
do you see me?
You hear that little voice was one of the puppet masters in the string of all of this event, and that's Conquero. He is our key ops lead, and he's our community manager over in our Discord.
Okay, Brem's having fun. Brem, just hide me.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you could see chat, so I just wanted to, hi everybody. I just wanted to come in and see if you wanted me to queue up that trailer. I'm sure you know which I'm referring to.
The trailer of open source, or trailer of what this conference is about?
Nope, GA.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Something I did want to tell you guys, a little pet project, that's been 6 years in the making, is actually available now, thanks to the team that I decided that I needed help. So basically, this whole theme of everything we've been talking about in the conference is just mental health. How do you maintain it? How do you know you need it? And I definitely needed it. I definitely needed to maintain it. I have a immune condition that causes me to have insanely low spoon or low units of energy count. But I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing. So the reason I did all of this to begin with, and that GeekBeacon kind of ended up growing itself. So GeekBeacon is now 6,500 people in the Discord, and it's way, way more than what I thought a community could even be. And in service of that, we ended up 6 years ago with my best friend. I wanted to travel the world because honestly, this is kind of depressing, but I thought I was going to have some health challenges for where I would not be able to go around the world anymore. And that was my absolute dream. So we created something called Geeks Abroad. And it took 6 years, but we finally built a team that could help me edit it. And that is in no small part by the Riffle brothers, who I am about to introduce you to. So I would love for you to check out the premiere that's happening on March 10th. It's going to be an amazing time. And if you can support my Geeks Abroad project at my other channel, cue the trailer whenever you get a chance. To the geek community at large, I have an invitation for you to be part of an epic adventure and tell you a story live. You see, you'll be the first ones to see it, actually. I've kept it a secret for 6 years. So let's go back to a few years back? A few years back, I wanted to try something different in my content creation journey, so I kicked off an absolutely massive project, and I poured my heart and my soul into it. I called it Geeks Abroad, where I traveled the world with my co-host and my best friend. For months, we worked hard filming us on location at geeky places like a Comic-Con in Italy. We presented on stage at a gaming expo in Switzerland. We danced with robots in China and watched an epic robot battle in Japan. Everything was amazing, and there was only one problem. Nobody saw it. Until now. Thankfully, I admitted I needed help and asked for it. Hey, Riffle Brothers, would you accept this challenge?
Hey brother, let's have some fun. Equipment loadout!
That says Geeks Abroad, but the link doesn't work, so it's okay. Yes, that says Geeks Abroad, but the link doesn't work yet. So, yes, I want to just give a shout out to Cinematic Fanatic. These guys deserve way more recognition than the algorithms are serving to them. That trailer is so hype, and I'm going to drop the link in chat. I wasn't going to do that, but I did. So by all means, just check out that link, give them a follow, just see what they have. They're talking about some like really easy, like basically easy to acquire technology and how you can they put them to the test, the very cinematic test, because they are cinematic fanatics. Yay, I'm happy you're so excited. Woo! Yay. I really am I get emotional actually when I watch it, because it took so long to actually get the series to come out. A lot of this is it's just really oh my god, I can't believe it's actually happening, because it's definitely what. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I just put some stuff out on chat. Yeah. Mark said I was there. Beautiful. Thank you so much for the positive encouragement. I haven't gotten a chance to check out chat as much as I wanted to. Let's go ahead and give me some positive spoons. Spoons for everyone. Beautiful. For those of you who don't know what spoons are, in the last talk, we talked about how to replenish your spoons or units of energy. Yay! It's going to be epic. Oh my God! Stop! You're gonna make me cry. It's not gonna be pretty because we've been up for so many days. Okay. Yeah, I don't have my notes because my computer is frozen, but sometimes that's just how it is. You know what I mean? Uh, we're now finished with the conference, but you guys should check out our Discord. We want to give a big shout out to Tiny Build. They hooked us up with some giveaways. Hopefully, I can get some announcements of what giveaways. So let me just detail the giveaways that you guys, if you checked out Discord and sent a question, we entered you in to a pool, and we're selecting and have selected. Thanks, guys. The winners of that. So 3 people are going to win DOS keyboards. We also have a Samsung Galaxy 9. Nice, super new technology. I love Samsung. I love their displays. And one lucky one of you will actually get to take one of those home. So maybe I can get Conqueror's voice from behind the curtain to tell me who won those things.
I can't announce the winners. Let's just say that they have been chosen, and
can you announce them on Discord?
Yeah, we can announce them on Discord, as well as pretty much the winners for everything will be announced on Discord.
Beautiful.
So the
Yeah.
physical prizes, the keyboard and the phone, the winners have been chosen. As for the codes, you can still enter if you want to, if you head on over to our Discord and just click the little emoji in the giveaways channel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people all over the streaming platforms are really well used to Discord. And if you guys don't know that I have a Discord, then you're around 5 years too late, because we're one of the first people who even knew about Discord. It was like one of the first 1 out of 10 Patreon folks, and then it was like the first few hundred Discord servers. That was really cool. Yeah, just to toot our own horn. Yeah, we're on the bleeding edge of latest conventions, guys. So tune in. Yeah. So
we have a guest coming in.
Do we?
Yes, his
All
name
right.
starts with an S.
Here's
Here's a hint.
Well, I don't know how much I have. Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know how much more spoons I have, or if we were gonna bring everyone on camera to say thank you for, the momentous event. I feel like Matrix is coming in to like tell me I'm doing a bad job or something.
No, you're doing a great job, actually. But
Yay!
a promise is a promise, right?
Oh, wait a second. Are you really?
Go get the milk.
Oh no. Okay, so what's happening here? He's really quiet, but that's probably because he's about to cry and he doesn't want to blow out his mic. I believe he is about to eat a pepper, one of the highest Scoville. How high is the Scoville units on this pepper?
I think it's a 2 million.
Yeah. Oh wow. Can we get other people to come in and say thank you?
Yeah,
for
about 2 million.
Ooh, a 2 million Scoville? Wait.
I think this is plenty.
Hold on. We gotta.
What?
So I think this is plenty. Maybe.
Yeah,
Oh no, wait. Oh, you didn't even.
Just do it. No, do it. Just do it. Don't lick it. Just do it.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Whoa. Oops. Turn your. Oops. Hang on. There we go.
And then we done another piece, Kel. Holy crap.
So Matrix is one of the many representatives of the GeekBeacon community that helped make this event possible. And while he's reacting, totally not overreacting to one of the hottest peppers ever, thanks Brem, thanks Holler, thanks Conqueror, Michael Wells, Rimwolf, Joe, T Mike. Don't touch your eyes. GeekBeacon 2022 could not have been the same without you. Let
me tell you something. Holy crapper.
Wow.
I'm crying, actually. A little bit.
I was like, We don't have special effects, folks. Otherwise, we can't zoom in on your eyeballs. But you can zoom in with your feet.
Yeah, clear sign is a shiny.
Ooh. Why? How did this even come about?
Well, so we were supposed to use it for the podcast, right?
Totally
Right.
wasn't my idea.
Yeah, well, kind of was.
I feel like it needs to be Matrix in front and center and us just on the sidelines. There we go.
So it
Perfect.
went like this. Conqueror said, "If I buy these, will you eat them?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then, yeah, Rem, good idea. Holy crap!
Wait, you're not. So, are you doing your debut as a streamer by, eating this? We thank our volunteers by poisoning them with spicy food. Yeah, absolutely.
But he's like, "Will you eat this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So basically, he went and bought them for me.
Aw, Johan said he's wearing his headset. Otherwise, we would see fire coming out of his ears.
I'm so glad I didn't swallow that because my stomach would really hurt.
Which pepper was it again?
Carolina Reaper.
Oh.
Hey,
I was
man,
like,
you
I
said you'd
don't.
do it.
I did it. So
yeah, props.
Everyone give a round of applause. We did Matrix ate a Carolina Reaper, and we totally gave money to charities for
Yeah, that
our
was for
first ever
abled gamers.
conference. Abled gamers. Woo-woo.
That's why I did it.
Oh. You ate a Carolina Reaper for abled gamers?
it's like getting a tattoo on your tongue. Holy crap!
No.
Oh, here's some great advice.
What is it? I can't see. Things keep freezing on me. I think my
Eat more
computer's
to
done.
make it less spicy.
I'll get right on that.
Technically, it's legit, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
I mean, you start to build an immunity over time. Don't get me wrong. I used to eat a lot of spicy crap, but
It's been a while.
it's been since I was like 16. So yeah, it's been a while.
Jeez.
I'm
Well,
gonna tap
I
out
mean,
so Nixie can take back over.
Yeah, go ahead, take over.
yeah, I mean, Able
Thank you,
Gamers.
Matrix.
Able Gamers is an amazing organization using video games, and they battle the problems of social isolation. And one of the ways they do that is by eating some of the highest Scoville unit pepper possibilities that you can ever do. Jeez. Yeah, so one of the things I can't believe the conference is done, you guys. One of the awesome things about I'm just going off the cuff because I have no ability to check my notes. One of the really cool things about Able Gamers is they work with one-on-one peer counselors, and they go in depth with each player to help identify their barriers and help with their engineering research. And they brought 5 products that focus on tools to help you with that level of therapy. And it's just building that camaraderie and that community that we so are looking for, especially now. And that is really what GeekBeacon is all about. And some of you might have been coming in here being like, why is she not talking about Linux? That's super old news, guys. I do, and I am, and I will, and I actually have a video, a couple days prior to this, talking about Minecraft and Log4Shell and whatnot for my Properly Paranoid series. But there's so much stuff happening over at my vlogs channel. I'll give you a sneak peek. That channel is going to have a lot more GeekBeacon content. So if you want to head over there, we're going to put a lot of the creator burnout panel is about to go live if it hasn't already gone live. That's with Soldier Knows Best, Dom Esposito. These are the greats of the greats in tech YouTubing, you guys. And it's such a privilege that they even dedicated their time to this event. And Malik Forte, he was on Nerdist. and Dr. Bean, who is with Geek Therapeutics. We're just doing so much good, as much as we can during this time of isolation. So if we were able to help you even a little bit, even a skoshi, even a bit, even a pixel or a byte, we'd love for you to check out our store. I have a shirt. Take me off camera. Zoom. I was like, I have this shirt that shows our Geek Beacon and Squirrel Army hybrid, and you can show our store maybe on another screen. But every little bit helps. I mean, you know, you don't get much from merch, but it's, you guys get something. And it's actually going to be even better quality than this. This was a sample that they could get to me in the last minute. So yeah, it's geekbeacon.com/store and geekbeacon.org/store. We have a 501c3. We have like a not-for-profit fiscal host as well with Geek Beacon. So I get all the comms and the stores and the orgs. Thank you, Rimwolf. Yeah, and I can go ahead and just kind of walk you through it a little bit if I can. For some reason, Restream is like a tank. So and I don't know. Oh, are you? Oh, you're doing that. Cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for being a part of the storming the castle. Is that what you were doing? You got to check out the Geek Beacon store first, but
Yeah,
I
a few
can't.
people got on cam, so I thought I would just bring it up if you wanted to bring it in.
Yay, wonderful. This is exactly what we wanted. Everything worked as we wanted. It does have a
Yay.
tux. It also has the open sorcerer sage. Aw, that's awesome. Thank you so much for the support, Shiny. It has a open sorcerer penguin. I must have walked away with it somewhere in my squirrely goodness. But I can pull it up. Oh yeah, everybody's getting into. Oh, you guys want to stick around for this? Everybody is getting in on camera, or at least with their logo, with all the people that have helped behind the scenes for GeekBeacon Fest. For Able Gamers and the Electronic Frontier Foundation. This was the mental health segment and accessibility. So we talked, there was a majority blind game studio that we did a panel with. And they talked about how they make games for those who are visually impaired. We did the creator burnout, which is about to go live on my other channel. Just really, really good stuff. And whenever you're ready, Conqueror, I can rock and roll all the people that you have in. Because we got to close it. I'm about to face plant. And if you stuck around for the Creator Burnout panel, we have Skylar and Chris and Riff. Those are our editors. We have written editors and video editors and everything in between now. And so any number of support that you have, we're still kind of pushing through Geek Beacon on our own personal finances. So do appreciate all the support for that and for the charities. Hey, everybody. I don't know if you can talk, but that's okay because we don't need you to talk. We have to close this conference. All right. I see a Matrix. He has survived from his pepper. All right. Hey, Arlen. Hey, everybody. All right. Torch, T-Mike, Joe, Johan, Rimwolf, Muddy, Michael Wells, Booby, Holler. I think Holler's there. Brem, look at that. There's you see, this is a rare Brem sighting. A Bremain he runs almost everything behind the scenes all the time with Geek Beacon. Rimwolf, what's up? On camera. Thank you guys so much. So appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Woo woo! Oh, we never even talked about Open Collective. If you do want, yeah, that's a good question. Thank you in the chat. How do you support Geek Beacon? God, we have this like whole 2-day conference, and then we don't explain how you can actually support us at Geek Beacon. Yeah, so if you're interested in supporting we are using a service called Open Collective, which is a fully transparent kind of like we're donating to you kind of vibe, and we keep all of the transactions transparent. So you're going to know what we do with the money, and we also have that for Geeks Abroad right now. So if you want to donate to the Geeks Abroad project, you can check that out. Can you not screen share any of this for me, Konkuro? I'm going to take 2 seconds to stop talking.
Sorry, my cat decided to be rude. So
Aw.
I'm back now.
Yeah, I just wanted to show a little bit about Open Collective. Oh, I think I might be able to do that. Because there was a very good question of how do we support? We don't know how. There it is. Got it. Got
Can you beat me to
it.
it? Okay.
Yep. So this is the Open Collective Foundation. It's a not-for-profit 501c3 charitable donation to a fiscal host here. Oops, I actually have to run this window, don't I? In the same screen. Okay. We talk about what GeekBeacon is, and then here are some. Matrix already did some tutorials on that. So if you guys want to drop in the chat, there's a link for how you actually donate. We kind of explain how you join Discord. We explain how what Open Collective is all about. And then if you look at GeekBeacon Foundation and then Geeks, we actually have Geeks Abroad, I believe. I'm going to mess this up. I don't want to do that. It should show
down.
there we go.
Projects.
There it shows our project with Geeks Abroad. And then this explains everything about Geeks Abroad. That is leaps and bounds more detailed than the trailer that you saw previously. So and then levels, and then all of that money will be transparently held. So you're going to know what we do with it because we are an open community, and that's through and through. So good vibes, good vibes. That's true. In chat, there's 2 people from 2 different sources saying good vibes. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for everything. Thanks to O'Reilly, to the Linux Foundation. The whole platform that you saw the schedule on was Sessionize. There's a Docs GeekBeacon GBF tutorial. I think the link is actually, all of the links are in the link tree. So I'm not really sure if we can retcon that from the internet, but hey, if it compiles, ship it. The last thing I'll do as far as where you can find us, because that's so important. Here we go. Yeah, we are a community of geeks. We're going to keep this up for a while. This has the schedule. So in case you're wondering about what day 1 was about, that's all about open technology and open source. Then we have the store and the Discord. So how to get to the Discord. And then here are all these, shout out to Matrix and Holler who came up with the tutorials on how to use Discord, because it's not always obvious, and everything that we just mentioned before. And if you want to subscribe to GeekBeacon, who knows? We might be throwing stuff on there too. Alrighty. And then I guess last but not least, 2 premieres, the full creator burnout panel that has all the legends in tech, and talking about what lights them up as a creator and how they deal with things. And then the premiere. Set a reminder for the premiere, Geeks Abroad launch, March 10th. Appreciate you all. I think that is my time. I just love each and every one of you who's continued to support me through 10 years of evolution or more at this point. You really mean so much to me, and whether it's just sharing this conference or sharing a single thing that we make on our GeekBeacon social media, that to donating financially, literally everything helps, and we are really to the service of the geeks. And we have, since the day that I uploaded a video in 2006 to 2026, I will always fight for the users. Talk to you guys later. Bye.